4:57 in WA.
Yeah.
Have you? Whereabouts?
I'm in Perth.
Oh, well, I'm in Geraldton. It's 5:10 p.m.
No, we should be on time. It's definitely 4:58. So I think you're.
Wayne's got his own time. 30 minutes different.
It sounds like it.
my time's 24/7. Apparently, I get phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh,
Yeah.
did I wake you up? It's 6 o'clock here. Yeah, well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning here, you moron.
I love it. The sovereign nation of Wayne Glue.
Come there, mate. I've had through about 10 court cases in the last 2 weeks, and 4 of them in the family court. We've won 3 out of 4. Looks like we're going to win the next one too. We've proved how quiet they are. They didn't like it either. They spat the dummy, especially when we accused them openly with a notice and an affidavit of truth filed on them for fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud and blatant theft of property. So they backpedaled and want to rehear it again. So that's interesting.
Far out.
But they heard it when nobody was there. They decided to have an ex parte hearing without getting permission. So that's the fraud. Give them a headache. We'll win. We'll win at the top and bottom. These people have got to go. We have to have honesty in this country, and we need it now.
Hear, hear.
I like that song. You can stick your. Eh?
Did we needed it yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely. G'day, Nadine. Wherever you are, there you are.
G'day, Wayne. This is Ken Bartle. I met you about 8 years ago in Perth when I was living there. I'm now on the east coast, on the mid-north coast of New South Wales.
Oh, yeah, that's a lovely place. I like getting on the train and wandering through there to Wyong and back. It's beautiful scenery.
No, a bit further north. Try Port Macquarie, Coffs Harbour.
That's a long way north. What do you mean a bit far north?
It's mid-north.
Mid-north, halfway between Sydney and Brisbane.
Yeah, I had a cousin living in San Remo, and I was testing a fuel system in Fountaindale, just around the corner from the Weet-Bix factory. So I spent a bit of time there in 2005, 2006. Beautiful countryside up there.
Yes, it's pretty good. And it'd be better still if we could get out and enjoy it instead of being locked down.
They tried to lock us down here. We just got in our cars, went out in the bush. Where could they go? We can go for about 500-600 k's any direction we like without even coming to a town. So it's good. You can wander around all the back roads.
That's why I remember Geraldton too.
Yeah, especially when you go to Mullewa and then go north, or go to Pindar and go north. Especially this time of the year, we've got wreath flowers, beautiful big flowers, look like a wreath. They grow like that. Yeah. And hey, Graham Turner.
Hey Wayne, how are you?
I'm always well.
You good, mate?
I'm always well, yeah. Never good, just well.
Things can get better.
Yeah, of course it's got to get better.
Are we ready to start, Graham, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, sure. That's what the exact question I was about to ask you. Can we ask everyone just to mute, and Karen will open us up now.
Okay, welcome to the QMS Meet the Team and Q&A this evening. Number 1, can we ask that all of you mute your microphones? And number 2, can we ask that you not use the chat? And there's a reason for that. So we'd ask you, we know you're from all the different states of Australia, and we welcome you all and thank you all for coming, but can you please not use the chat? Now, if you have a question to ask, please use the hand sign, the wave sign. And what will happen is myself and another administrator will ask you in the chat, what is your question? And then you can use the chat to ask us the question. It's just so that we can keep, when there's thousands of chat messages going through, we can't keep on top of them all. So if you just use the hand, and then the moderator will ask you, what is your question? And then you can have that question done. Now, we have to ask that the questions are all about the Q&A. We're not going to answer any questions about what's going on in the world at the moment. All right, we're not we don't have the answers to all of those things. So please don't ask questions that are not relevant to the QMS. All right. Some of the answers to the questions you want may come out from someone else's question or through some other way. We've got a few team members who are going to have a chat tonight. We want to just state that we're not making any claims that are unsubstantiated. We are just showing you and telling you what the QMS is all about. And that's what we're here for tonight, to share that concept with you. And then you're freely able to ask questions through the chat system. So if you can mute your microphones and not use the chat, that would be great. And we probably will have to remind you a few times until we get all of the numbers on board and the numbers settle down, because people are just coming on all of the time. So first of all, we'd like to send apologies from Pete Little and Jackie Dundee, both of whom were scheduled to speak here tonight, but for reasons beyond their control, they can't speak here tonight. So they send their apologies, but all of the other people and others are here tonight to speak. So just a reminder for those coming on, please mute your microphone and refrain from using the chat system. So first of all, we've got a bit of an agenda to work through tonight. So the first thing we're going to do is introduce the creator of the QMS system, and he's going to talk about the QMS, and then we'll move on to the next person. So I'd like to introduce Graham Turner, please, to talk about QMS.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Okay, so just to sort of brush up on a couple of things, the reason we don't want, at the moment, we can't answer on policy decisions because we're not a political party and we don't intend to push forth policy. What we're building is a tool. The tool is the quantum management system, or the QMS, and that tool is so that you, the people, can put your policies forth, vote on them, and make them real. Now, the way that it works, for those that aren't aware, basically it's an app you can have on your phone or on your computer. It is held within a blockchain, which means that the details are kept safe and secure and only you have access to them. And basically you can propose any policy that you like. And when it gains 1,000 people's approval, or 1,000 people you might lobby for that. But if 1,000 people want the one policy, it'll come up in the news feed. When it comes up in the news feed, you get the chance to like, you see that like, or not like. And if it gets to 10,000 likes, which are more than the unlikes, then that policy then will go to a review board, which will be experts within the field of that particular policy who are not paid, they're volunteers. They will be there simply to test and measure the policy. If there's scientific testing to be done or policy testing to be done, it's their job to do it. And at the end, they will create a common language policy for the people and put it out for a referendum style vote. Voting in the system will not be compulsory. It is up to you. If you don't want to vote on a particular issue and you want to abstain, that's fine. But if you can vote for or against any policy or abstain. So what will happen is obviously the masses will have it, but at least we'll be educated along the way, because the experts will be totally transparent in all of the testing and measuring. Everything will be put into the news feed that we've created that associates to the app. And basically everything's there. All we really need is to get the people on board. We've brought all the major parts together, and some amazing things have been happening in the background. Every day we're just moving further and further into a situation where this can and will become a reality. So what we need is the will of the people on board with us, and then what we have is a country that we manage without the need for politicians or politicking. Right? All we're left with is just simple policy that we decide on, policy for want of a better word at this stage. Everything we're doing is lawful, safe, legal. But if you want to talk in their system, there's no cost to being a member of the QMS. We just need people on. The reason we ask for information is to build a demographic, because we need people over the age of 18 who are voting age, and everything else that happens with it once it's there is yours, it's ours. We decide the policy. There will be no political leaders because we won't need them. You'll have leaders within various areas promoting things, and people will follow those leaders because they think they're the right people to follow. But we won't have people
Connected you. I found an MSI.
So, yeah, look, I'll be open to any questions at the end. I think I'm
Connected you. I found an MSI.
I'd have to just mute someone here. Just 1 second. I'll just sort that out. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, that's the gist of what the QMS is. We do have a website, www.theqms. So that's THEQMS, and it's .org. Now, if you go and check it out, the proposal's there. We have had a lot of interest. I was on with Graham and Karen on Australian National Review with Jamie McIntyre this week. There will be an interview that we did with him up shortly. In fact, the QMS proposal is now there as an article on that site as well. So we're getting a lot of traction with what we're doing. An interesting week this week. We have negotiated an agreement with the Australia project, and they're now working together with us in building this and building a membership, because at the end of the day, we need to get to that 8.6 million voters in order to take it under a constitutional event, or there are other options that are being explored at the moment and thrashed out at the moment that may be able to bring it forth and into the limelight a lot quicker without necessarily having that number of people on board. But we still need to get everyone moving as though it's going to be the long game. We need to get everyone on board as quickly as possible. And the way to do that, Tim Dwyer's had a great idea. If everyone goes and tells 5 friends and asks them to tell 5 friends, and they tell 5 friends, believe it or not, and I've done the sums, 9 moves, we've got 9.75 million people on board. So that's how we do it. It's actually an easy sell. Just ask people if they trust the government. When they say no, they do not, because that's usually the answer that I get. Just then ask them if they're open to a different system and point them in the direction of the QMS website. Once they're there, they can become a member. Their number counts, and the sooner we build this site, the sooner we get the people on board, the sooner we take control back from the corporation and we unhook ourselves and become a free nation again that's actually run by its people instead of corrupt political leaders. So I'll hand back to Karen because we've got a lot of speakers tonight, and I don't want to take up all the time, but I will be available at the end for any questions, and you can always contact me via the app and at info@theqms.org. Please, more than happy to answer any questions that may come of it. I'll hand back to you now, Karen.
Thank you, Graham. Just a reminder, if you do put your hand up to ask a question, one of the moderators will actually write to you in the chat. So that's where you'll be asked, what is your question? So if you put your hand up, just look at the chat coming up, because it could be directed at you, us asking you a question. Now I'd like to introduce the next steering team member of the QMS, and that's Graham Jeffs, who has been working on this something like this for a great number of years, and is one of the old guard, along with Wayne Glue, who has been working to improve the situation in Australia. So over to you, Graham Jeffs.
Good evening, everyone. How are you going? Excuse my my background because I'm actually without internet tonight, so I'm on the phone, and that's a typical thing for me, being ghosted. But anyway, my role in the QMS.
I don't want you to be here. Yeah, not inside the house.
Can we just mute everyone, please?
Well, then leave it there.
Can you please mute your microphone?
Can everyone mute their microphones, please? Now, just check to make sure that you're muted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the reason that the QMS is I suppose important to me is because I've been working on this for many years, not as many as Wayne, but many years trying to motivate the people to exercise and voice their rights. When I met Graham some months ago, it seems like years ago now, but only probably 12 months ago, he explained to me about the QMS, and I thought, what a brilliant idea! It's like a fingerprint to give people a direct input in real time into how this country is managed, because we all know that the government is a corporation, and we can give you the documented evidence on that, thanks to Dick Yardley. And we know that they do not govern for the people; they govern for themselves. And there's a myriad of things that that you need to understand and learn about that, and we'll teach you that as we move along. But the QMS gives you the option to actually be, as the framers of our original constitution wanted you to be, involved in the management, government, economic and societal systems of this country, we the people. So that's basically why I wanted to get. Now, the way I see this is, if you can imagine that we just pick up the Commonwealth, which is the people, the Commonwealth, everything that this country owns, and we just remove it underneath the corporations, and we set it down on a blockchain encrypted platform, which is the QMS. That takes it out of the hands of corruption. It takes it out of the hands of politicians, political parties. It takes a big business out of the question. It takes all these things out of the question so that that we get true democracy.
Vaccination rates plummet in recent months, with experts.
Can we please mute your microphones, please? Thank you. So that's where we are at the moment, and there's a lot of very influential people working on this system. And at the end of the day, we need you. We need you, the people, to have a look at the QMS proposal. It is only a proposal at this stage. It's not a prospectus. So we want you to understand how it works. We want you to ask questions about it, which is why we run these Q&As. And we also want you to learn about our political history and why the two-party preferred will never work. And, I'll put my email in the chat. If anyone wants a copy of Dick Yardley's book, all you have to do is email me, and I'll quite happily send you a copy. And you can start reading and understanding why we need the change. And the fact that we have people like Wayne Glue on board means that we must be doing something that's lawful and constitutional. Otherwise, Wayne wouldn't even be here. And I can assure you that he has very strong views on the Constitution, and that's what he really wants. So that's all I got for you tonight, apart from answering any questions that you might have. I'll put my email in the chat, and anyone that wants a copy of Dick Yardley's book, please email me and we'll get it to you. But please be patient, because every morning I get 700 or 800 emails, and I'm getting a bit old, a bit long in the tooth, so it takes me a little while to get back to everyone. But I will get back to you. So back to you, Karen.
Thank you, Graham. Just a reminder for anyone that's new coming into the meeting, could you please mute your microphones and refrain from using the chat unless you ask a question. Now, if you put your hand up to ask a question, our moderator will write to you in the chat and ask you what your question is. So far, we've asked a few questions and we haven't had any replies yet. So just remember, if you put your hand up to ask a question, look at the chat when it comes up, because it'll be asking you what that question is.
So if I press that.
Could you mute the microphone, please? Thank you. Right, I'm going to hand over to another QMS panel supporter, and that's Mr. Wayne Blue, who many of you may know from his work over many years. So over to you, Wayne.
I unmute myself so you can hear me. I've looked at the QMS system for a long time, and I did make a big heap of pages of what to say today, but I've cut it down to about 5 things. So I'll just read this out. Anyone's got any questions in relation to where I see this going, just ask me at the end of it. So what I've got is, over the past few weeks, I've been involved in the QMS group to get an insight into how it works, and it works very well from what I can see. Overall, the proposal is a good one, but has a few pitfalls which we can iron out, which I can see and have to be addressed before we implement a new system of governance, because it's governance, not government. And I put a lot of question marks after that, because some people won't understand that. First, I'll address the present system. As of today, it is dictatorial, treason, and meets none of our constitutional requirements at all. It rips everything off us and gives it to a small few. Our constitution puts us, the people, as a Commonwealth, as established and in total control. So my suggestion is we put it back in place as originally intended by the framers, not what has become so far. After doing so, and the people seeing how it works, we can explain the pitfalls in the system, because there's a few in there, and and how we can correct the wrongs in it. And I've done quite a bit of research but haven't completed into that. It's my belief that we can't move forward until people see what is seen by others in relation to our constitution. It is a good system. It has pitfalls. It was able to be ridden over. So now we've got to put in a system that can wipe it out. And I think QMS is that system we can put there, because it gives the people greater control, which is what they should have had to start off with. It is so easy to attack a broken system, but very hard to show how it is or was broken or destroyed. The onus is on all of us doing the new proposal to show how it is better and better serves the people. And I believe going forward with QMS, we can do that. If I didn't, as Graham said, I'm a mouthy old bugger and I do mouth off. If you look at my Facebook page, you'll see to what extent. So if anybody wants to ask me any questions in relation to how I see it going further other than what I've said, I'm open to suggestions and questions. Anybody listening? Nobody wants to talk.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. That's brilliant. I just want to add to everyone, yes, I am aware that my audio is not very good. There's not a lot I can do about that in the middle of a meeting. So I can raise my voice a bit more so that you can hear me a bit better, but I really can't do much about anything during the middle of a meeting. So I just have to keep going on, but I'm not talking a lot. Other people are doing most of the talking. So please bear with me with that. It's something that is beyond my control at this point in time. So thank you, Wayne. I'd now like to introduce Tim Dwyer. If he would like to talk now, please.
Thank you, Karen. The other thing I just want to mention before I go on is that when Karen says put your hand up, down the bottom on your screen, there's a little motive down there that says reactions. If you click on there, you can see a little yellow hand, and that'll pop up on your screen. So as your moderators, as they go through, can see your hand is up. I'd like to follow on from what Wayne said. I have been raging against the corporation of this country for a long time. And most people in this country are unfortunate that they do not know that we have a constitution, as it was made illegal basically to teach in schools from around about 1976. And so we have generations of people who don't even know we have a constitution. And it is one of the great legal documents of the modern era. Now, in the preamble, I only want to touch on two parts of this, so as that we get an understanding that, yes, we have a constitution, and yes, you have great authority within that far more than any political party or any member of government may want you to know that you've got. In the preamble, it's talking about where the actual authority lies, and on page 286, they're talking about who has the authority. And it says that the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable authority remains with the people, not the parliament, not the prime minister, not the premier, remains with the people. Now, that's you. Now, let me go all the way over to section 116. Now, most people don't want to read section 116 because it's all to do with religion. And today, for some reason or another, it's an unpopular subject. However, let me read this to you. It says here in section 116 that the Parliament is a legislative body capable only of exercising enumerative powers. Its powers are determined and limited by actual grants to be found within the Constitution. Anything not granted to it is denied to it. Ladies and gentlemen, during the First and Second World Wars, our parliament was never suspended. The people's rights were never abused to the extent that they are today. The corporation that calls themselves the Australian government have absolutely nothing to do with the Constitution. They've rewritten their own to protect themselves to the point where they even took out the clause of treason is punishable by death because they knew they were committing treason. Ladies and gentlemen, our Constitution, your children's Constitution, gives you the total, absolute and supreme authority. It is time, I believe, that we exerted that authority in a meaningful, peaceful way to bring equity back into the people of this country so as we all get a value share of the common wealth within this land. And I believe that an equitable share means that you have an equitable vote, not a distorted vote. I believe that a direct democracy approach is the only fair approach. And with technology the way we have today with blockchain technology, so as that votes can't be stolen and pockets can't be filled, I think what we have with the QMS could be a wonderful, wonderful way that we could find ourselves in a unequaled, unparalleled democracy on planet Earth. And yes, the Constitution does have some failings. I agree, and it does need some work, but it doesn't need work to be done by interested parties to their own benefit, to your detriment. It needs work that we produce a system that is fair and equal to all, and that leaves the absolute and total and uncontrollable authority in the hands of the people, for the people, by the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. That was great. Can I just do a reminder to everyone, please make sure that your microphones are muted, especially those who have come in recently and missed the beginning. And also to please refrain from using the chat. All right, we are using the chat so that questions can be asked to us through the chat system, and we can then put those questions forward when it comes to the Q&A time. So if you could please refrain from using the chat unless you've been asked what is your question because you've had your hand raised. I've managed to get through a few of the hands raised, so I've asked the question, haven't got all of the questions back yet, but if you've got your hand raised, we will ask you, one of the moderators will ask you what is your question, and then you can provide your question to us. But in the meantime, please do not use the chat because we need that for your questions. Okay, we now have another person to speak, and that is Hakora. Hakora, are you ready to speak for us, please? Hakora?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Hakora.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll move on to the next person on the list, and when Hakora comes in, we'll go back and catch up with Hakora. So I'd now like to bring Andy Legg, if you're here. Andy Legg?
Hakora and Andy haven't made it in yet. I've just checked the...
I haven't made it in yet.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do then is I'll move forward to Matt Lawson.
Hey everyone, hope you guys are all doing well. I really, I guess what I tend to do with these
Matt, you've gone on mute somehow, mate. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry, all we got was hi.
Try again. Hi. What I try to do with these types of things is I try and simplify things. I have a lot of mums, dads, grandparents, you know, just your everyday Joes who are wanting a change to what's going on right now. And what I've been doing with the QMS system is going out and speaking to people and asking them a really simple question. And it starts with the question of, do you trust your current government? And that question leads to a lot of different conversations. And what we're finding right now is not only the people that are in power, but the people who are opposing the people in power are not really giving any solutions. We're seeing it in Victoria. We're seeing it throughout all the other states. There's not really an opposition. It's really two wings, one bird. And that's the problem with our two-party preferred system. Now, I saw some people asking earlier about QMS and how it really works. And I like to simplify it as much as possible. So for me, someone just said, what's the question? So the question I ask is, do you trust your government? And what I say to people to really simplify QMS is, at the moment, you have a health minister, you have a defense minister, you have all your ministers sitting up in their ivory tower. You vote them into where they sit. And then once they're in place, they pretty much just do as they like. They make decisions, they put in legislation. Of course, there's a Senate that's there as well, but it's all happening within the one system, and the people lose all their power. So the power is handed over to your politicians who are making these decisions. Now, within that political atmosphere, there's no real way for us to have a voice. And we've seen in the last 2 years, it doesn't matter how many times you email, it doesn't matter how many times you make phone calls, your voice is not heard. And that's not how a true democratic system should be working. So with the QMS system, you're basically looking at setting principles for health, defense, whatever the area is, and giving the power back to the people. So rather than a minister being there, each term of reference that you want, which we call policies now, but we're going to call them terms of reference because it's not about politics or policies. It's about a term of reference. Once it gets put in place and voted by enough people, then you put that out to the nation, and everyone puts in a vote by a referendum to decide whether that gets put in place or not. And then any time you want change, that gets put up to a referendum as well. That's the easiest way for me to explain what QMS is about. It's really giving the power back to the people. Now, in Australia and other countries around the world, the sovereign people have forgotten the power they have. And the power has actually always been with the people, but we forget. And we've become slaves to a system. And that system is about screwing us, if we're putting it in the most simple terms, and squeezing us to get every little drip out of us. And where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves with no voice, and we find ourselves with no direction, and we find ourselves following orders from people that don't really care about us anymore. And if we can get this system into place, and again, it's not about overthrowing people, it's not about marching into buildings, it's about saying, that system is broken. We do not trust it. Here is a new system where the people have a voice again. So I would urge everyone to try and get this video out to people, to try and have the conversation with people and say, do you trust the system at the moment? Do you trust your politicians? Are you sick of going in and out of lockdown? What would you do if you had a voice? And they'll all say, but we don't have a voice. Well, QMS is a way for us to have a voice again. It's done via the Constitution. We have some amazing minds behind it. There's no money changing hands. It's just about putting a system in place, a secure system where people can have a voice again. And I urge all of you to really look into it, jump on the website, have some conversations. Feel free to inbox any of us. I'm always around everywhere throughout Victoria, but just drop us inboxes and have a chat. And let's start the conversation going again. There's no more time for us to sit and wait for someone to make the change. The power's always been with you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very, very much. Before we move on, is Hakora in yet? And Andy Legg, are you here?
No, they're not in as yet, unfortunately. But
they're not in yet.
Yeah, they're obviously running a bit late. For some reason, when we were talking to Andy earlier, he kept saying 7:30, and I kept saying to him 7, but maybe he's got me confused. Thanks for that, Matt. That was a good take on what we're building. So it is really a system of the people, for the people, and by the people. And yeah, I mean, look, you guys get to design what happens. We're not telling you what happens. We're not a political party, and we're not interested in politics, right? We want to give you guys the tool. We want you to have the tool to run your own country, and we will be part of it. We can put our stuff into it too, as much as any one of you can. All we're doing is building a tool, putting it out there, letting everyone know there is an option, and that You know, the concept is real. I mean, it's the only way we will have a proper democracy in our country or any country is something like this. You've got to take people, money and power out. Anyway, Karen, I'm sorry. I just wanted to step in on the end of that, just sort of add to that a little bit, and since we're missing a couple of guests, I just thought I'd take the opportunity, but thank you.
That's all right. Well, we seem to have a couple of people coming in late. Obviously, that happens to all of us. We get held up for some reason and we don't manage to be on time. So hopefully I can say...
Karen, sorry to interrupt. Andy's just sent me a message. He's trying to get in. He can't get in.
Okay.
Says Gary Little. Who's Gary Little? That's what he's saying. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'll call him now and sort it out.
Okay. All right. Well, we're sorting that out. Then I will talk about what my role with the QMS and what I'm up to. So I've joined with the QMS steering team and coordinating a lot of things behind the scenes. I run all the social media at the moment and try to get the message out as much as possible for all the things that we need you to know about and calls to action. I've also been working on a volunteer program because we need a lot of volunteers. And now that this is gaining momentum, this is a great opportunity to put those calls to action out that we really need. So we have a whole range of volunteers that we need. So some of those volunteers will be coordinators, and they may coordinate a resource or they may coordinate a team of people. And we've got all sorts of things that people can be involved with. The coordinators will manage these small teams or coordinate these small teams or coordinate a resource, and will work with the steering team in regular meetups to see how things are going. Some of the volunteers will be participants in meetings, and I know there was a question before that someone put up about experts only. Well, the meetings that we have on regards to any topic, and as Matt mentioned, the terms of reference for how we would like the world to look like on the other side of this. The terms of reference are a basic initial structure of how we would like a new Australia to look like in all the different facets that make up our social life and our community. This is just a starting point. It's not set in stone that this is the way it will be. It's a starting point to look forward to, so that we then build on that and develop the real terms of reference or the real policy on the other side of this. And those teams of people are not just experts. So if we take health, for example, if we wanted to devise a new health system, for example, we would have the overarching, we'd need to work out the overarching concept of what health would look like. But health is then broken down into hospitals, into GPs, into nursing homes. It's broken down into surgery. It's broken down into end-of-life care. It's broken down into natural therapies and chiropractic. It's broken down into energy healing. It comes into a wide variety of different things. And when you discuss something like that, you need to break up into all the relevant subgroups to figure out what the overarching theme of each subgroup will be that will feed into that umbrella topic. And you need not just the people, for example, that are qualified doctors and nurses and surgeons having their input. You also need the input of the end user, the people that are on the receiving end of everything. You also need the input of all of the complementary therapists and all of the other natural medicines and that to feed into the picture. There also needs to be representation from the different key factors of our life, our community. And that's, you know, how would a new health policy or terms of reference affect elderly, affect our Indigenous people, affect the youth, affect disabled people, and mental health, for example. So all of those factors would need to be factored into every discussion on every topic. And of course, there would need to be some neutral observers to ensure that any discussions going on remain in a way such that they don't steer off to one way only, that they remain, that everything is included. So we need lots and lots and lots of participants, lots of volunteers from all facets of life, and our coordinators and volunteers will be the ones to do that. So I'm coordinating that at the moment, because we need lots and lots of people from all walks of life, from all facets, to come on board and help us with that. I'm also working with First Nations as well, and there's a lot of big work on that happening behind the scenes. It's a huge body of work because Australia is a huge continent, and there's lots of it, and we're all spread out all over the place. It's not like being in Europe where you're only down the road from each other. Australia is absolutely huge. It's a vast expanse, and trying to get us all together is not an easy job. So I'm also working on that as well. And lots of administration and other bits. So my role is quite wide and varied and diverse. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm at the moment chairing various meetings and keeping things going and running diaries and, you know, all sorts of things going on as this takes shape. So Graham Turner, has Hakora or Andy now come into the meeting yet?
Okay, so Andy's in. Just before we bring Andy on, I've got Jim Greer here, and Jim works a lot with the original people, and not trying to do any special treatment with anyone or jump the gun or anything, so I do apologise. But Jim, if you could unmute just for a second, and sorry, Karen, I know I'm taking a little bit off your agenda, but we'll be back to it in just a minute. Come in, mate. I just wanted, Jim and I have had quite a long discussion in the past, and we've been meaning to catch up for a while. Just okay, on video, I hope. How are you, mate? Can you speak, Jim? Can't hear you, mate. Sorry, Jim, we're not. Are you there? I think you might. Oh, are you there, mate? We can't hear you. I'm not sure what's going on. You're unmuted.
He's disappeared, Graham. He's gone.
He's there. I can see his video, but his voice isn't coming through. Jim, you've got something going on with the vocals at your end. We're seeing you, but we can't hear you. I think he's dropped out to come back in. I do want to bring Jim in because Jim is a link to the original people communities, and he is also an influencer in his own right. He and I have spoken in the past, and we are trying to ask him how the best approach is with the original nations and how he can help us with that. So obviously we want to speak to as many people in there as possible. It's important to us that every Australian is on board with what we're doing and understands what we're building. So anyway, Andy's in, so we'll give the floor to Andy, and I'll step down for a tick, but I'll get to Jim when he comes back a little bit later. I'm sure he'll pop back in.
Hi all. Looks like you've got a reasonable number of people following. My name's Andy Legg. I got involved with this through Graham Jeffs, who I've known for probably about 7 years. And I've got a few other people along that I've met in my travels. I'm a business owner. Came to Victoria about 15 years ago from the UK, and was awoken to the rawness of the whole of the political system, I guess, over that period of time, and have done various rabbit holes in my travels and met some wonderful people. And all that I see is that we seem to be trapped in a trust world, which it is not quite right. We have no real money. What can I say without sort of surprising you too much? Banks basically run this country, and they run this country through the political system. The idea of the QMS is basically to remove the idea of voting for people that are in parties that then vote on policy. The idea that we have come to with the QMS, which I think is a wonderful idea, is that we actually vote on policy personally. So everybody gets a go. And how that works is entirely up to you, the people. All we've done is we've tried to put a platform in place that needs your numbers to make it work. and it won't work unless the numbers are there. But the idea behind it is that everybody gets their say. Anybody can put something forward, depending on what the people decide. A certain amount of people would need to agree with that before it went forward to a referendum. And then we decide how our country is run. And Australia is a wonderful country. It's a beautiful place. And I hate to see what's going on with it at the moment, and how we are all treated in as many ways as, I hate to put it this way, but slaves. We work many hours for very little return. A lot of it gets turned back into the system, which is wasted. So new vision, new looks. I'm a Gulf War veteran originally, from 1991, saw how war is not quite that it's made up. It's often a lot of stories behind it. And I've run businesses in my life for over 21 years now, and the last 15 years here in Australia, which I absolutely love. And I've met a wonderful array of people through my awakening to the rawness of the system. So we can go into that at a later stage. Other people in this group that I've met through my various travels are LKRA. I've met people through Crown groups, Leaf Masters, and it's amazing to see how each of us have gone further down our education and the real, what's real. And the lies that we're being told on the television are really bad. And it's really indoctrination in my mind. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you can comprehend what we're trying to achieve. We're just the starters of this. You, the people, are the ones that are going to take it forward. And I want it to be of the people, for the people, by the people. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Andy. All right, is Hakora in yet, Graham? Is Leaf Masters here? Leaf?
Is my microphone
Hi.
working?
Hi, is Leaf here? Hi, Leaf.
Yeah, I'm here.
Just introducing Leaf Masters, who is going to talk to us about a few things. Over to Leaf. Thank you.
Hey folks, Leith here. I'm just going to give a little bit probably of a longer perspective, a bit more of a galactic perspective perhaps on where we are at, which, as you are maybe aware, we are in the Great Awakening. And, you know, what does that mean? We are very much at the end of an age, and that is the age of Pisces, and we're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is what most people have heard of, the age of Aquarius. But again, what does that mean? The age of Pisces has been an age where humanity has been inside a privately owned trust, and that trust was created in 1302, Unum Sanctum, through the Catholic Church, which really was a response to the movement of Magna Carta, attempting to put into place rule of law, which is all are equal before the law, and that there would not be an elite ruling party, which is what we have today. So Magna Carta was 806 years ago attempting to do that, and here we are today. We still have an elite ruling party. So really the term to use is rule of law. All are equal before the law. And that is the most essential measuring stick that we can use. That is to say that we are all created equal in the eyes of God. We are all a fragment of God in a human suit, having a human experience. We all came from the same place. We're all going back to the same place. So as we move out of guardianship and into humanity managing itself, which is what the age of Aquarius is all about, the trust is freaking out and does not want humanity to leave, obviously, because then they lose all their jobs. The trustees or the guardians, the board of the guardians. So the board of the guardians came about in the words Board of the Guardian were coined in 1834, but as an amendment to the Poor Law Acts, which came about in 1535 under Henry VIII. So we are the poor, managed by the Poor Laws, put into place by Henry VIII, and we have a board of guardians that look after us. And so the board at this point in time has decided that we should all be vaccinated, and that is the best way to keep us safe. Because what does the Guardian do? It's supposed to keep you safe, which is, if you look at all that COVID dialogue, it's all about keeping you safe. So that's their tactic at this point in time. But the procession of the equinox cannot be stopped. It is unfolding. We have concluded the age of Pisces at the end of 2012. The Mayan calendar clearly defined that for us, and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So we have to get to this point where humanity is managing itself, and the QMS serves to do that, because it's going to give everyone an equal voice, where you can lodge your vote on something, you can put forward a matter or an issue, and it can be brought to the table and it can be addressed by humanity. And we don't have to waste time in politics and personalities and misdistribution of resources. We could be solving the homeless industry in a blink of an eye if we could get the resources redistributed properly, but because they're under the Board of the Guardians, they're sitting inside a trust and they don't care, because that's just one huge industry on top of many industries that they like to run that keep their jobs running for them. So in conclusion, it is an exciting time, and all we have to do is step out of the trust, and that is a shift of consciousness, and that is what the Great Awakening is about. So we can choose to have a little bit less hysteria about everything that's going, because in rule of law, all are equal before the law. Consent is essential. So there really is no such thing as mandatory. And as humanity gathers itself and gets its tools working, and people continue to wake up to what is going on, there becomes more and more tools available for people to rebut this notion of a mandatory vaccination or a mandatory PCR test if we can get on a plane and get to the mines or whatever it might be. So just take some joy in knowing that, you know, we're getting it together, and the QMS is just one of the many tools coming, and I think it's an excellent one. Thank you. That's about it from me.
Thank you, Leith. That was great. Graham, is Hakora here before we move into the Q&A? Hakora, are you here? Okay, Graham Turner, if you're happy, we can move into the Q&A section of this meeting tonight.
Sorry about that. I was stuck on a phone call, so my apologies. It was an important call, so but I've just hung up on it. Sorry, I missed.
We don't seem to have Hakora here, so we've gone through all of the steering team members. We've all spoken now.
Okay.
So we'll move into the Q&A now, I think.
All right, no problem. So we've got a few people with their hands up. Have you guys managed to get the questions and organise people in that regard? Because I'll get you to bring them in and suggest who needs to answer the question.
Well, the chat has been a bit full up with a lot of people saying stuff. I've got a couple of questions. I had a question from Paul. Paul said, what is going to happen to our defence force?
Okay, so initially nothing will change with regard to the public services. So there's got to be a transition period from any change of system. We don't necessarily need the politicians at all. In fact, I believe we don't need any politicians at all. But we do need to keep our public services. I mean, obviously you want to have ambulances available, you want to have police available, you need an army, etc., etc. So we're not taking them, we're not changing them initially. That'll be up to the will of the people as to how they're changed and what they become. So they're still there, they still operate, they still work for the people of Australia, except now they've got different bosses, the people of Australia. So it's not going to be the government that's bossing them and writing their policy anymore. And I'll tell you what, the people of Australia can be pretty harsh bosses. Believe me, I know. They've been, copying it from all directions, as does any of the influencers when you put forth a new idea. But we really do believe we have the solution. We've got different ways of implementing it. As I say, the will of the people is the safest way. We can go forth with everybody and get as many on board as quickly as possible, unless, of course, we can force some form of legal situation where we can, or lawful situation where we can transfer it there. So overall, none of the services will initially change until we start to change them. So the first thing that we need to do is get the will of the people that we want this system, right? The second thing that we do is we hold a referendum on what will be the structure of our country, i.e. does it operate under a constitution, and what other things does it need to operate as an independent country and look after its people. So it's not about, what we're doing is taking out the control arm of the corporations and putting the people back in charge. So that's why I'm saying we're steering clear of the policy at the moment. We want the people to propose the policy. We've got our own ideas. Everybody has an idea about what they want out there and how they want the systems to work, right? These things work on the will of the people, on the masses. That's how the whole QMS is designed. It's not I come out and say this is Graham, Karen, Matt, and all the other people that are involved putting forth our concept for what the world looks like. We're giving you guys the tool to make it into what it should be. And that's, we have complete faith in the Australian people. I know that a lot of you will say that probably 15, 20% of us are awake at the moment. Go and ask people if they trust the government. Go and ask them if they're happy with their taxation. Go and ask them if they're happy with fracking. Right? Don't ask them about COVID, because you get the response there. Ask them about the other stuff, and away you go. So when you go down that path, all of a sudden you're opening up doors. They don't trust the government. Nobody does. And people that do are probably mentally ill. So did you want to say something there, Graham, too? Did you want to add to what we were just saying there?
Yeah, I just wanted to put in that politicians don't run countries, nor do political parties, nor do parliaments. Public servants run countries, and a lot of people have asked me over the years, what happens if we do change and there'll be absolute chaos? We'll have a power vacuum. We'll have anarchy. We'll have also no, we won't, because the thing is that all we need to do is take the fat cats out of the mix, and then all of a sudden you've got a system that would run economically. I mean, we ran the public service have been running this country for ever since federation. So it's not politicians. Politicians have become the situation where they take a really good idea, and Graham and I have discussed this on many occasions, where a really good idea is taken and is absolutely bastardized into something that they get an advantage out of. It's got nothing to do with the advantage for the people. Now, if you give someone skin in the game, or someone like you people that are listening tonight, you get skin in the game, which means you can have a say. Now, there's a framework around how you do that, but you can have a say. So if you want to put something forward, you don't have to wait for 4 years after an election, or now the government's trying to get 5 years. You can do it in real time, and then the onus is back on you to get people to support what you want to do. Next thing you know, you're actually you're involved in the management of a local issue, the management of a state issue, or the management of a federal issue, but you've actually got skin in the game. And we believe that the 15 or 20% of people that are awake now, when we show them how this works and we explain to them how it works, they'll want to be involved, because up to date, they've been just completely numbed with the fact that we can only ever have one of two parties. We can only go to an election every 3 or 4 years, or when they feel like it. And even then, they tell us what they think we want to hear to get their votes. And then as soon as they get in, what do? They do exactly what they feel like. So very little is done from the election promises that they make. So take that out of the equation and get the public service to work. And I'm talking about the rank and file here, not the fat cats. Take them out. We'll save a lot of money anyway. And there's no influence in there. They've got a job to do, and they do the job. The military comes under the will of the people. The constabulary, which is not a police force or a police service, it's a constabulary, gets put back in its box where it's supposed to be, and is there for we do have to have some laws, so law and order, but more importantly, peacekeepers. And the next thing you know, you've got a society that everybody's interested in being involved in.
Yep.
And that's where we're coming from right now. And can that person that just came in please mute? Thank you. Okay, so we've got, that's what we've got, and that's what we want you to understand. It's not about us. It's not about the steering committee. It's not about anything, really. It's about the people, and that's why we do this, and that's why we want you to get involved so you can actually have input as well. Thank you for listening.
In the long run, there will be a public service that takes over. We're just bringing this forth. Once we people have it as our system, I want to go back to my normal life. I don't want to run a country. I'm not a politician. I'm not interested in any of that sort of stuff. Right? And I know Graham's the same, and the other guys. We just want to end the tyranny and corruption that our country's based in. I mean, we live in a prison colony, and it hasn't.
Next
changed.
question.
So, sorry. Answer the question. Do you want to quickly run the question back past me again?
Okay. We've got a bit of a problem because what's happening is, even though we asked not to use the chat, everyone is using the chat. So the questions we wanted to bring through the chat are being lost because there's.
If anyone's got a question to put forth, sorry, Karen, just one second. If you've got a question to put forth, can you please just chat it directly to Karen or Michelle Boyle? So send it directly to Karen Yardley or Michelle Boyle. We want to sort of what we're trying to do is just weed out the questions about what are we going to do about the vaccine. We can't do anything about the vaccine. We are just people building a system. We're not a political party and we don't have any power. With the will of the people, we can educate the people about the vaccine, the masses, because when we do the scientific testing with our experts, they will see that the vaccine is doing nothing and it's just a big lie. So if you want to stop the vaccine, the way to do it is we bring the system in, we say that we want to stop the vaccine, we get 1,000 people, and then our 10,000, we bring the experts in. That 10,000 we can get out of this movement easy. So if you want to stop the vaccine, get on board with the QMS, get all your friends on board, and let's get it to be the system that's running the country, because you're not going to stop it with the current bastards in control of it. They're going to block everything. You can't fix it you can't fix a corrupt political system with politics. You can't fix a corrupt legal system with lawyers and judges and magistrates. It just isn't going to work. You can't fix a corrupted health system with the same system. You've got to step outside it and create something new and then burn the rest. Leave it behind. It's gone. Forget it. Right? We have that way. We've got the way that the people can do all of that and that we can make it real. Now, the beauty of everything that's proposed in the QMS is that test and measure, because all of that is transparent. It's put up there for the people to see. So good, bad, ugly, whatever comes out, it's going to be on show. Right? There's no more hiding behind the Senate and political talk and rubbish like that. This is straight talk. This is as we see it. I mean, Graham, Wayne, myself, I'm probably the most political in the way I approach speaking to people out of all of us, but I still only tell the truth, and that's what we're all doing. We all live to our truths. So, and everyone that is involved in building this is doing this because we really believe that at the end of the day, you guys deserve it. We deserve it. We all deserve it. What we're getting out of this is our freedom. That's what my investment in time and energy to it is. That's what Graham gets. That's what Karen gets. Now, all the people that are putting in massive amounts of time to actually make this a reality, there's no reward except if we succeed. We can't succeed unless we've got the will of the masses. We need all you guys and everyone to grab everyone you know, show them our system. Who doesn't want a voice in politics? And who wants to get up and be a politician? I certainly don't, right? But to have my voice heard, to be able to get changes done at that level, I mean, honestly, and this is real time. If you put a policy in and it turns out to be a mistake, it's going to get taken out by the Australian people straight away. They'll just vote it out as soon as they've had a test run at it. Something might be up and down within a matter of weeks. You don't know. But the beauty is it's all going to be in common language. You'll be able to get access to it back through the system. and you'll know what's going on because it'll be all over the media and it'll be all over your app that you've got. So anyway, back to you, Karen. What was the next question?
Okay.
Answered that.
Right. We are not. I haven't got enough questions coming up on the screen, so we may have to ask a few people to unmute.
Okay, I've actually got Jim Greer, Karen. So do you mind if I bring him in?
Okay.
Jim, are you there? Are you back, Jim? Can you unmute, mate? Jim works.
I've of the questions if you need them.
Oh, thank you,
Oh,
Michelle.
you've got them? Great, thanks, Michelle. Jim, can you unmute, mate? Are you still there? I can see him up on the screen, but he's muted. Oh, okay. All right. What's the next question then?
All right.
Linda asked, will we still have councils and courts and who will run them? Can you still be a member of a current government party until this is integrated?
I'll take this one, Graham, if you like.
Sure, mate. Okay.
All right. By replacing the system, we mean there will not be political parties anymore because, for those of you who don't know, the AEC requirement for a political party is that they have their own constitution, which is directly in violation to our Commonwealth constitution. You can't be served two masters. Councils were a good thing back in the day, and that we still need to have oversight in areas, but a very, very vastly changed a type of thing. But again, it all comes back to the people. And if the asker of the question is interested, they can get onto the panel, which is going to be looking at how we service rubbish, roads, parks and gardens and things like that. But it won't be like you've got at the moment, which all councils and shires are all politicised. There was an expose the other night from one of the so-called current affairs programs that showed that of all the major city councils, only one was paid less than the Prime Minister. Not that he's a Prime Minister, but you get my drift. It's just a money drainer. We need to get back to the point where you get, good services for, picking up your rubbish, looking after the roads, mowing the lawns. And political parties and politicians, we don't need them because they have bastardised the system to the point where a politician is not what we elect. We elect representatives of the people. Politicians do not represent the people. So we don't need them. And we basically won't have them. I can't imagine anyone, or a majority of the Australian people voting to keep political parties or politicians. They've all had their chance to fix the problems of the of Australia. And for those of you who don't know, back in 1908, they created the two-party preferred system in the Parliament. Didn't even ask the people for consent. So, I think that. I hope that answers your question. So no, councils will still exist, but in a much more service-oriented, structure. And forget about bylaws and things like that will be passed by the people in the community, not by individuals. And as far as the political parties go, all gone.
Don't need political parties anymore. They're a thing of the past. We've got the technology to replace them. So that's where we're proposing that we head.
Next question.
Okay, I've got a question here from Sammy. And Sammy is asking about the blockchain technology. Who is building it and what the blockchain technology is about. Can you ask?
Okay, yeah, I'll answer that one. So we're actually talking to a number of different people about the development of the blockchain, and we do have a couple of software engineers that work directly with us. We've got a lot of, I guess you'd say, IT security experts that we're talking to. There's, at the moment, no final decision has been made on the blockchain development of the app, although when I say we've got it all together, there is actually an app that we've found that is very like the QMS. And once we have a bit further negotiation with the developer, which unfortunately we keep missing each other, but that should happen within the next week or so. This app could actually be stripped out of the things that it doesn't need and rebranded, and a couple of things adjusted, and we've basically got the QMS. So the code itself is there. It's just got to be put together in the right format. So this is something we could build in 2 weeks, is what we've been told by the experts, once we've got the will of people. Now, the other thing is that we don't need the app until we get all of the people on board with the concept and where we're heading with this. So the app itself can be developed pretty much at any stage along the way. We did have some software guys working on it, but we ran into a few difficulties with it. So we sort of stepped up and went and spoke to other people as well. So we have a lot underway, but nothing completely finalised yet on that particular aspect of it. But this isn't just about an app. The app, as I say, is just code. We can put that together anytime. It's about having the will of the people to take it away from what the current system is, with a proposal for a new system to be created. And we want the people to help develop that system as well. So that's why we're asking everyone to get on board now. And that's why we're bringing everyone together to say, hey, look at what we've got. Think about how it could be. Think about what the new systems and processes could be like. And talk to us and get involved in what we're doing. We've got a membership portal on the website, the QMS.org. We'd love for everyone to become members, because then we build our demographic. And once we hit that figure, which could come down due to the vaccinated, we're there. We've got the country back. The people win. Right? And the politicians started this war. Right? They started it a very, very long time ago, and they've done it all about control for a very, very long time. They've killed so many people over the years. By giving them your will, by continuing on in this system, by even voting for them, you're condoning it and you're furthering it, and it continues around the world. It's not just here. It's everywhere. So if you want to beat a corrupt system, step outside of it, build a new one and step into that. Karen, Jim's back in, and I really would like to bring Jim in if that's okay. Can you unmute, please, Jim? G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Can you hear me now?
We can now, yes. Thank you.
Oh, that's magic.
Jim works a lot with the People's Treaty, just to introduce him. So I'll let Jim ask his question now.
Yeah, I don't know who's got the dogs in the background, but whoever's got dogs in the background, maybe
that's me, mate. I'll turn it. I'll mute myself.
All right. So the thing is here, all right, like I'll give you a little bit of a background on myself. I'll try and actually make my camera a bit better as well. Yeah, that's probably good. Let's see if I can find something to prop that up to that point. I'm on my phone, so to deal with stuff. All right, so the idea of things is here. So for the last 3.5, 4 years, I've studied not just the acts and statutes and the laws and the this and that, the other. You know, I've become a public Commonwealth official or Commonwealth public official. That was under Wayne Glue. He signed me in. I've been into the Magna Carta realm of things. I've been into everything else. I've been to all sorts of avenues of everything. I've tried to make this declaration, that declaration. I've created websites that means that people can voice their opinion through a public notice and have that done, and that's all for free. It's never been about any money. It's about the freedom for the people. And personally, myself, you know, I'm an inventor, so I invent a lot of shit that the government doesn't want me to put out there for people. So I'm well aware of what happens when you speak out against the government. And don't get me wrong, like, it's an exorbitant task. You know, it takes a lot of battling. It takes a lot of persuasions and, you know, self-determination and everything else to actually keep fighting for the people. And it is really hard to fight for people. So, for one, don't think that the ones that are on the mainstream medias and saying we're fighting for the people, like Karen Brewer, all right, she's got a good heart in a sense, but she's off in New Zealand because she doesn't want to get hammered by the Australian government for telling the Australians to do this and do that, do the other. But I'm personally not a Karen Brewer supporter, you know. So there's a lot of things that go on and everything else, and just not the other. The idea of everything is that simply, I was approached by Dig Wilson to help build People's Treaty probably about a year ago. Now, when I did that, what happened was Dylan said to me, Jim, can we have a conversation? I said, yeah, mate, of course we can have a conversation. Let's do this. All right. So he had a chat and he told me what he wanted to achieve and everything else. So I fully supported the whole aspect of the people of Australia actually having a voice. And not only that, but what the rest of the world and most of you probably don't even really get is that on this land that we stand on and call Australia, which is Terra Australis, there are 369 nations. Now, 369 nations, which is the original nations, with that 369 nations, we actually hold a greater power than the United Nations, because the United Nations only has 159. We have 369 within this continent in itself. So we have a standing. Now, what other people don't see behind the scenes is that we've actually gone through and throughout the 369 nations, we have the majority of the elders that are the indigenous and so forth, right? Out of the 369 nations of this land of Terra Australis, New Holland, surrounding waters, we have those people in agreement, right, to actually have a little bit of a say about what's going on with their country. And we've given them the voice, and we've said to them, if we give you a voice, will you be part of that voice? Will you be part of that treaty? The treaty is yes. If we have a true people's treaty without someone standing there saying that they're the white man in control of everything, and I get that the QMS doesn't want one person or another person to be the control. We don't want the control. We don't want to be the leader. What we want to be the leader is the people. The people are the leader. End of story.
Absolutely. That's exactly where we're coming from.
You know, and so the QMS system and the People's Treaty system both can work hand in hand autonomously.
That's exactly
and
right. Yep.
I wrote my first program at 9 years old. I'm now 43. I'm not stupid. And I'm not just talking out my ass. You might have seen me on the bloody mainstream media shit as Jim Greer, the Outback Prepper, and see that what I'm actually doing is providing people with how to deal with all the bullshit that's going on now. And you can do it by bush medicine, bush foods, you know. You can help support your community and the people around you. You can make this world better. And do you know how the easiest way to make this world better, apart from all of us standing up saying, you know, like, oh, let's say this on a piece of paper and let's sign that petition and this and that. But what's the point of signing a bloody petition? A petition ain't going to do shit because they're not going to listen.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's no, you can say, oh, let's all petition to the Governor General. The first thing he just says, I'm not accepting mail for the next 6 months. And that makes all contracts null and void with the people that have sent correct contracts. You know, through commercial law, which we're dealing with commerce, being that they're a commercial government. So through the commercial law, if they haven't received the document within 6 months, it's just a load of wank, you know, and it's pointless. And so this whole thing, all right, so let's go to.
So my question to you, Jim, is how do we bring the original people together with us so that we can always one. All
right, so the original people, and I can tell you now, like first-hand knowledge, I've probably personally over the last 20 years if not more, have personally visited almost each and every single one of the 369 nations within Australia. I've been traveling, I've been living bush for a long time. I'm not, you know, you guys are all like, oh, I need a shower 3 times a day. Mate, I'm lucky if I get a shower 1 time every 3 months, you know, like,
yeah,
I don't live in the usual purple circle of shit.
yeah, yeah.
These guys
Sorry,
don't.
Jed, I'm going to have to ask you to jump to the point, mate, because we've got a few people waiting, and I'm sort of getting the other admins are just pointing out that they've got a number of questions coming in, so we've got to try and keep it a bit brief, mate.
All right. So the point being that through People's Treaty, we can make a choice, and through QMS, we can discuss the points and we can authorize the points and so forth. But we need to work with unity among the people, full stop. You know, disregard the money, disregard the fiat currency. If you've got, you know, a lemon tree in your backyard and your mate's got a patch of bloody lettuces, we need to trade the lettuce for the lemons, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's time the people, all the people, as one. And I mean, we all step together, black fella, white fella, the whole lot of us as one whole. And we stand up to these people, but I need your help in approaching the original people and getting the concept that we're promoting.
Well, that'll come naturally. That will be there.
Thank you, man.
Because they know what I stand behind, and they know what the people that stand behind me stand behind.
Cool. Mate, I'm going to give it back. I've got to give the meeting back to Karen, but I do appreciate you coming in, brother.
The traditional elders of this land want the wrongs to be righted.
Yep.
And there is an army of people that have been fighting this for several years that are standing behind that. And unless we have the right solution and the people stand behind that solution,
Jim,
there's no chance.
Please, that we are working on that. We're actually working on it, but we have to do one step at a time first. So we've got to do the first step to be able to achieve the next step.
Yeah, just keep in mind, mate. We're not a political party at all. We're just building a tool to give everyone the voice that they should have, and that includes the original people. We are fully inclusive in this. It's everyone gets a say. We've actually, look, I wrote in it that immigrants couldn't vote in the country and that you had to be Australian born, and that was done to protect the system. We've had to even look at that. We will allow people to propose policy at any level, and we'll allow people to weigh in on it, etc., and be on the expert boards. But there's matters of immigration and all the rest of it that are being discussed around that at the moment too. We can't determine any policy, because anything that happens in the QMS system is always just going to be the will of the people. It's not our will, it's not my will, it's not this, you know, all I've done is create a system and got a lot of people to help.
The problem most of us face is that we all want to try and achieve something, and we all want to try and achieve goals without the minimal harm to self.
Yeah. All right.
And the idea of that is to be, you know, digital warriors and so forth, and send emails and this and the other. But if they're not getting listened to, they're not getting listened to.
Yeah.
And then the next thing after that then comes, well,
yeah, I'll be back in good looking.
As I say, we've got to end the system to be able to change the system, and in order to do that, if we get the number of people on board with what we're doing, we can do that, and then everything can be brought forward.
Yeah, well, I stand behind Wayne, I stand behind Rod, and I stand behind Stuart, and I stand behind a lot of people that are really. Sorry, Wayne, I didn't get that.
Sorry, I need to butt in. I've just had some people turn up. I've got another meeting. I thought it would be another hour's time, but they just turned up now, so I'll have to drop out. Sorry.
No, thanks for coming, Wayne. We appreciate it as always.
Yeah, much appreciated, Wayne, and you're always a great one to listen to, mate. Like, you've got a good spirit. So
hey, Jim, we're going to need to move on to the next one now, so I'll hand back to Karen, and I apologise, Karen. I know I took it a little bit away from the agenda, and I do apologise for that.
All good, and thank you, and I hope that this thing has true 100% like motivational spirit to move the people forward into the right directions. Just stand and fight for what is right in your mind. And remember that the people around you, need your support too, because a lot of them don't really get it. So
Jim,
please support everyone around you.
Jim, I have your email and I will be in touch with you to add to the team of people working on this, but I have to ask that you stop there now because we've got a load of questions. We've now lost Wayne, so all the questions we had for Wayne aren't going to be able to be answered. So we have to move on.
Well, they can be, because I'm very closely related to Wayne, is in knowledge-wise.
That's fine.
And I'll shut myself up for now.
Thank you very much for your input, Jim. Thank you very much. Michelle, you had a question.
Yes, Charlie, who has joined us from New Zealand, would love to know if we have anyone over there working on this. He thinks it's a fantastic opportunity and he'd love to see it in place over there.
Okay, Charlie, we don't have anyone directly in New Zealand working on it at the moment, but we actually do have a site set up ready for New Zealand in the background. We just haven't made them public yet. The idea is once we get this working here in Australia, other Western democratic nations will see it and will probably want it too. So we plan to give it to the world, basically anybody that wants it, because we believe that any people of the world do deserve to be able to run their own country and do deserve to be able to control what their society, what their systems and processes look like. So what we've got here is the way, and it is, as far as I've seen, the only way to have a true democratic environment, although it won't be a democracy anymore. I call it a quantumocracy, but it would probably have a different name. So does that answer your question, Charlie? And sorry, if you want to just quickly unmute and just let me know if that covers it, I'm happy to sort of talk further.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, mate. Yep.
Yeah, that does. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just had the question because I didn't know if there was people on the ground here already that I could get in contact with and try to get involved. But,
have you got a bit of a movement over there that you can talk to directly about it and take it to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of movements, but many of them. But yeah, I can. I've been putting the word out and trying to get them to go to the website at least and sign up.
Cool.
So yeah,
what we'll do, contact me through the info@qms.org email address, and what I'll do is I'll get back to you. We'll send you some links and some information so that you can start building things over there, and I'll show you what we need to do. We'll need somebody over there to actually do a lot of what and Graham and everyone else is doing here. So yeah, but I'm happy to give you all the info so you can get rolling on it over there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Cheers.
Next question.
Michelle, can we have the next question?
Okay, we've had a couple of questions about the Constitution. Can they still be answered now?
Right.
Yeah, I'll take them.
Yeah, bring Graham into that one.
Was, do we still have a Constitution because of the issues with the royalty and all that sort of stuff? And then the second part of that was, how is our movement in conjunction with the Constitution?
All right. First of all, we still have a constitution regardless of what happens to the monarchy in the UK, because we the people and the British monarchy are stakeholders in the constitution. Now, for those of you who don't know, in 1985-86, the Hawke government removed the constitution, our lawful constitution, and put in the green copy. And a lot of people don't know this, but it's exactly the same constitution, but they removed the preamble. And the first words in the preamble is, whereas we, the people of New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Tasmania, which means we, the people, are the Commonwealth. It goes on to say that we formed an indissoluble federation, which was called the Commonwealth of Australia. So yes, we still have a constitution, and we are intending on using the constitution. That's why we've got Wayne Glue, Dick Yardley, and a lot of other constitutional scholars, Tim Dwyer, myself, that we're going to build the QMS as the Constitution would have wanted it. until the point where we can go to the people and say, okay, what do we need now? Because, you know, if a corporation can come in and replace the Constitution without letting the people know, well, not what some of us knew, then we need to make sure that that can never happen again. So a Constitution of the sort that we currently have, which is way outdated. I mean, it's 120 years old, so it needs a lot of work on it. But unfortunately, we've never been able to do that work because, unfortunately, the framers of the Constitution put the ability to call a referendum in the hands of the representatives of the people, which we now know are politicians, and they had no intention. So, with the new system, the QMS system, and even an updated Constitution would give the people an opportunity to raise referendum issues. And again, there'll be a framework around that. So the answer is yes, we still have a Constitution, regardless of what happens with the monarchy. If the monarchy is dissolved, which we're hearing a lot of different stories about that. If the monarchy is dissolved, our Constitution is heirs and successors. So whatever succeeds the monarchy, that actually is a successor, okay? Heirs and successor. So we would work in that framework. But once we get the will of the people, we can change the Constitution under Section 128, and we'll go further into that. And if anyone wants Dick Yardley's ebook, I'll post again my email so you can email me and get that book so you can read it all. It's 485 pages, but it's well worth reading. It's all black and white documented evidence. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Graham. That sounds great. Michelle, have we got another question?
Okay, we have. How are we going to educate the technology in it people in the blockchain system? I don't know if we can actually answer that yet. That's a question in working, I think.
Yeah, no, actually we can. This is why we put the social media platform up front on the system itself. So all of the policies as they're going through the process, as I said before, it's all going to be transparent. So everything's got to be put up in this social media platform. So as the experts would be doing the testing and measuring, they'd be videoing it, they'd be putting that there for people to watch. We see the outcomes, we see how it was done. If there's problems, people are going to pick it out and make noise about it within the system itself. So we've all got a voice in order to be able to, see how policies are actually determined. So I think that answers the question, does it not?
Okay, thank you, Graham. Michelle, have you got another question?
What Miss or MS asked, why haven't we dismissed the current government?
Okay. The reason we have tried. We have lodged over the decades several Magna Carta Article 61 lawful rebellion requests to the British monarchy. Lots of so-called legal challenges have been made. The problem is that we haven't had a lawful Governor General since 1960. And this is all in Dick Yardley's book, and I'm not going to go through it now, all of it, because it's just too long-winded. But since the 1960, because the politicians decided that they were going to create a republic within the Commonwealth of Australia, within the Parliament. So that's why they were working on changing the Constitution and removing the preamble. Now, to remove the government, or to get the Governor Generals or the governors or anyone to do any work, we had to go through the Parliament. So we had to go through our local representatives. We tried that. We tried it with Nick Xenophon. We tried it with Pauline Hanson. We tried it with, lots and lots of other people. Corey Bernardi, Jackie Lambie, Darren Hinch. The list just goes on and on and on. The problem is that they say, yep, no worries, we'll look into that, we'll do this, we'll do that. We actually challenged in the High Court. The High Court threw our case back at us. Jackie Dundee's got a case in the High Court at the moment. And it's because in 1973, Gough Whitlam changed two pieces of our legislation. One was the Royal Titles and Styles Act, which is the Queen being the head of state here and the Governor General being her representative in this country with the people of Australia. And he also changed Acts Amendments Act, which means that the Parliament could make amendments without royal assent. So all this was starting to take get a little bit of a momentum, and so he also created the Australian Government Corporation and the Queen of Australia. In 1985-86, when the Hawke government brought the Australia Act to the table, he took it to the UK. He had it initialed in the right corner, ER, which meant the Queen had received it, but it didn't have the referendum attached to it of the majority of the people agreeing to it. So he brought it back to Australia, said that he had royal assent, and they changed the seal to the Queen of Australia, and they passed the Australia Act, removing us completely from the British Commonwealth. Now, all of that is in Dick's book, and it's all documented evidence. It's not something that's a story that's made up. We've got copies of the amendments. We've got, references to the Constitution where there should have been a referendum held, and several referendums held over the journey. And all of this means that we have a republic within the Parliament. So they think that they have sovereignty, when in actual fact the people have the sovereignty. It's always been about the number of people. We go to elections, we keep re-electing them. Can someone, whoever's not muted, can they mute, please? So it's all about the people, and this is why we tell people, if another party goes into, to fight in the two-party preferred system, they need the same amount of people that we need to introduce the QMS, because you have to have the majority, and the majority is about 8.6 million. And we're going to move forward with getting people involved, and community by community. Unity starts in community, and the Constitution needs to be taught. The information needs to get out there. We can't do it in the public forum, because every time we try, we get shut down, we get censored. So that's why we're calling on all the people out there. Get the information, and then tell 5 of your friends, and then they'll tell 5 of their friends, and so on and so on. And before you know it, we've got a number of people that we know will be heard as a voice of the people, until we can get all the people we need to bring the Commonwealth from out underneath the corporation, put it on the QMS, and give the control back to the people. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Graham. That's great. I've got a question that's come through here, which I think would be good for Graham Turner. What is involved in being a member? And this is for Faye. Faye asked this question.
Okay, Faye. So all you have to do is jump on the website, the qms.org. There is a members section there. So when you go to log in, it'll ask you if you've got login details or are you a new member. Click on the new member link. Go there, fill out your details. Now, yes, we are asking for your date of birth, your home address, contact details. We want to be able to contact you in the event that anything goes down, and we do need the demographics. So we need to prove that you're over 18, that you're a real person, and that you are potentially eligible to vote. You don't have to be registered to vote, just eligible to vote to be on the system. So if you're over 18, you simply fill out those details. Nobody has access to those details except for myself, Karen and Graham. At this stage, we are not selling them. I can guarantee you that. We're not there to make money off you. The information is kept strictly confidential. We're not even going through it, to be honest. It's just a data collection at this stage so that we can build a demographic, because if we can get that 8.5 on and we're ready to go, as soon as we've got that number, and we'll know that, we'll start announcing to you guys, right, here's our first referendum. We'll hold it within our own system. And that's when things really get hot. That's when Graham, Wayne and Dick and Tim and all the legal guys swing into action. And that's when certain things are going to happen. Now, with regard to how that happens at the moment, we don't want to give too much up because we don't want to be counted, basically, is the reason. So we've got a lot in play, and as I mentioned before, there's more than one opportunity here to get the QMS up as the lead system. This current system is failing, and we all know that it's failing, and it's going to crash and burn sooner or later. So we now have the alternative, and I guess that's that's where we're at, and that's what we hope we can achieve. And look, with all you on board and all the people you can bring to it, that's how we do it. Right? It's about getting the word out, telling people about what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And why we're doing it is we want to be free. right? And that's the only reason we want our children to grow up in the Australia that it should be, not the Australia that's been stolen by corporations, where they're stealing the money from you, where they're killing you with everything they're doing. It's just crazy, right? But we all know that. We're not here to scare you. We're here to give you hope. And together, unified, we take our country back without ever firing a shot. We don't need war. We don't want violence. We don't even have to overthrow a government. All we need is the will of the people. We take that away from them, they can cease to exist. Next question.
Okay, Michelle, have you got another question for us?
Okay, Susie Q asked, is the QMS the same as the quantum system used in the US? Are we not just reinventing the wheel?
Can I answer that one, Graham?
Yeah, sure.
The QFS is a quantum financial system. That's not what people think it is. It's actually part of the cabal. You know, we've heard a lot of talk about the QFS. We've heard a lot of talk about Nasera. And when we look further into it, we realise that it's all about the reset of the financial system in the world, but not change the people who control it. So the QMS is a full system. It's a platform that enables us to put all of our systems, whether it be governance, economic, societal, on top of it and give it security. The QFS it gained popularity probably because Donald Trump mentioned it during his presidency, and a lot of people ran with it. But, you know, further investigation and drilling down find that it's just another way for the globalists to control the financial system. It's not the reset that people thought it was going to be. We've also got the Basel Treaty. We're at Basel III at the moment, which is all part of a global currency. And what they're selling it as is that you will be able to take the Australian dollar or whatever we happen to be, because remember that digital currency in this country is unlawful because it was introduced without the will of the people. We have coin of the realm here, which is British pound. That's another story. But so the globalists want Basel III is basically instigating where you can take the Australian dollar to America and it'd be automatically exchanged by their systems in that country. The problem was when we asked the question of who's going to control it, it's all controlled by the banks. The QFS, which was supposedly a financial reset for the people, is not what it seems. Now, I'm quite happy to discuss that with people outside of this forum. And if you've got any information that you want me to look at that we can talk about, you can email me at Off the Grid. The email's in the chat. But we must do what is good for Australia. We cannot wait for other countries or other entities or anyone else to come and do what we need to get done. The QMS is a fantastic proposal. It gives us back the power and it stops anyone from getting into the system and usurping that power. And that includes whatever monetary system that the people decide we will have. And we've already got people working on things about different currencies. We are going to have a digital currency, people, whether we like it or not. To compete on the planet, there will be a digital currency. The thing is with digital currencies is who controls it. So if we have a digital currency, that it wouldn't be attached to the QMS, it would be a standalone currency, and it would be also of the people, for the people, by the people, so that people would know exactly what their currency was, but not controlled by the cabal, by the banks, by the finance companies, or by, you know, politicians or political parties or anyone, simply controlled by the assets of the Commonwealth of Australia, with a hyphen in the middle, Commonwealth. And a lot of currencies, were gold backed. Those days are gone because nobody knows where the gold is. Well, we think we know where it is, but the point is it's not in the hands of the people that own it. Nasera is a smoothing of assets, taking from the rich countries and giving it to the other countries that are not so rich. The problem is that who's going to control it? And this is where the secrecy starts. So I hope that answers your question. And as I said, we can have another chat about that outside of this forum.
Discussions about the currency system and the flag can be done once the QMS is in, because that'll all be based in the will of the people. And I mean, they can take many different structures and formats at that point. And realistically, what we're doing is drawing a line and stepping over it and saying, come with us, so that we can get out of the system where we're in and have a fair system that we run as the people. So, and when I say we, I mean you guys, not Karen, Graham and I and the other people involved. We're all part of it, because yeah, we can propose the policy, we can vote on it, and we can be an expert on the panel that helps determine what actually occurs with it, as long as obviously we're off the field that's required. Next question, please.
Michelle, have we got another question?
Okay. Well, continuing on the finance, how would we stop the banks deserting Australia and other countries refusing to trade with us if they don't like our new system?
So yeah, so Australia's the richest country in the world. It's got so much wealth, it's ridiculous. If they don't trade with us, we'll just create our own industries here. And that, I mean, it'd actually probably be a good thing for that to happen for a little while. But I'll let Graham do the rest of that. And again, the bank, the global banks, so we don't really want them anyway.
No. Well, see, look, let's just call a spade here. We are in this country self-sufficient tomorrow if we want to be, because we've been corporatized and centralized so much. Everything we do in our lives in any given day is by agreement, contract, by consent, by acquiescence, by all these sort of things that we don't even know we're doing. I mean, anyone that hasn't got an encrypted phone and have one, your data's being mined, and you wouldn't know who's getting that data and what they're doing with it. As far as the global banks go, the QMS will be offered to any nation and not linked together. The actual technology will be offered to every country on that wants it for nothing. We're not interested in making money out of this, because what we want to do is build not only a brand new Australia, but a brand new globe. So we've got people in New Zealand that are already tuned into this. We've got people in Canada, we've got people in Germany, Spain, the UK, all over the world that are watching what we're doing, because it is the testing ground for the globalisation agendas, all right? So don't worry about banks. We don't worry about, I mean, the banks have already got your money. For those of you who don't know, in 2015, they passed a piece of legislation called the bail-in. Now, that means that they can declare a financial emergency and take your money. And what they do is they give you shares in the bank back. But the problem is, as soon as they declare a financial emergency, the shares are worth nothing, give you a worthless piece of paper. They're going to take your money. And the government let that legislation go through the parliament and passed. And that's all of them. And that includes all the so-called saviours like One Nation and the Greens, that they all Labor, they all jumped in together, because that means that they wouldn't take the money from the taxpayer, which meant the government had more money to play with. So there's a lot of things at stake here. In terms of what Graham said, he's exactly right. We don't need the rest of the world. I mean, yes, we want to trade with other countries, but comes to shove, we don't have to. I mean, we were the lucky country for a reason, and we need to get back to that. And we need to let all the people in Australia know that, I don't know whether people know, but the resources in this country that are in the ground, which is your commonwealth, we all share in it, we're all shareholders in this commonwealth, is controlled by about 5 different corporations, and none of them leave their money in Australia. None of them. So we heard the other day that Twiggy Forrest and Fortescue Mining owns 30% of WA. How is that possible for a person to own 30% of a sovereign state? So there's a lot of work to be done, but we intend to bring the Commonwealth back to the Commonwealth. So forget about all the banks and things like, we don't need them. Before there were banks and fiat currency, people traded at community markets. They swapped, food for money. When they went to work, it was a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. That's all going to come back when the people get control, because that's what we want. I mean, that's what I want. We're not going to tell you what you want, but you're going to tell us. That's why we need you to join with us in the QMS and make the proposal a reality. I hope that answers your question.
I've got one question for you quickly. What happens if you're in ownership of a house and all the Australian government sinks and you're just talking about the bail-in? So what happens there if you've got a house or a house mortgage and you're trying to pay that off?
Well, you've got the point is you'll still have to pay your debts, but the things that the title of the land will come back to you because you're buying it. If they lent you money, there's also a situation where the financial system, the mortgage system, is the biggest rip-off of all time because the banks make more money out of having your mortgage and securitizing it and selling it off as an asset. So, but that's a situation that we need to talk about a lot. You won't lose your house. You know, there's also a thing called, hang on.
Sorry,
There's also a thing called adverse possession. And, you know, like if you've been in the house for a certain period of time, it's yours. All you need to do is prove that there's an agreement that you were to purchase that house. And then you would then you still have to pay that money back, but it would probably go into a trust if that was the case. That's a specific question for a specific time. But we can pretty much say that the banks will have no authority to take your property.
I'd love to see us I'd love to see us when we get there do a local financial reset and redistribute and basically cut off the IMF and all the world banking systems. But it's policy, and it's not what I'm here to talk about at the moment. We can put that forth down the track. But
no, it was just a quick question because you talked about the bail-in. I thought I'll throw that in quickly.
Oh, no, that's okay.
And another thing too, I work with a Wiradjuri tribe too down in southwestern Sydney.
Yes.
And we're in harsh lockdown now. I can't travel more than 5Ks, can't walk around the block. So, you know, just hearing what you're actually saying, how quick can you make magic happen? Let's get it going.
We need the people. As soon as we get the people, look, put it this way: if everyone went out tomorrow and spoke to 5 people and for the next 10 days, every one of those people went and spoke to someone else and so on, do you know in 8 days we would have the system in place? It's 8 or 9 days from when we started doing it. So that's if we can get the uptake. If every 5 people were to go and speak to 5 more, because you start with 5, the next one's 25, then you go to 125, then it's 500 and something, and then you're up in the thousands, and it reaches the millions very, very quickly.
Graham, can I just jump in there with, you know, I mean, we're off the track with finance there, but there is a preconceived idea that once they take once they digitize your title, that you lose ownership. The land doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so I talk to people like this all the time. I was 13 years a real estate agent. I know that land does not go anywhere. Yeah, but but it's not done everywhere. We'll just talk over each other, please. Thanks, Graham.
Sorry,
because I'm getting a lot of feedback because I'm on earbuds or whatever you call them. So your land doesn't disappear, and the fact that you're on it, there's an old common law adage, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law. So we don't want people to go. What you should be more upset about is the way that they've changed the fee simple title to the Torrens title system, where you don't own it. You just keep paying it off forever. So we don't need to be talking about the negativity because when the authority is taken from the banks and from the government, that the so-called corporate or the Australian government corporation, they have no authority. So who's going to take your property?
Yeah, right. So that come underneath.
Okay, we have to move on.
No, I was going to say something quickly. Even if they try to take it, it'd come down to the Australian squatters' rights anyway, because I've been here for that long.
Yeah, well, there's lots of different rules that were there way before the corporations brought their rules in. But if once you take the authority from the corporation, they have no authority. How are they going to? They can't take it. They can't take anything. Yeah. But look, as I said, that's a question for another.
Yeah. Thank you, Graham. Jeffrey, could you mute yourself now, please? Thank you. Michelle, have we got another couple of questions just to see us out, please?
Sorry, Susie Q asked, will our public servants have to have a working with children check?
That's up to the will of the people. I would suggest probably, but I would like to see that, but that's up to the will of the people also.
I don't actually agree. The working with children check is not thorough enough anyway. It needs to be a deeper check than that because criminals still get a working with children visa without a problem.
And that, yeah, and look, that's fine. What we would hope is that that system would be redesigned as part of the overall redesign, but you wouldn't want to just give anyone the job working with children unless you have done some form of check on them, I would expect. So, yes, if it needs adjusting, then that's something we change in the process once the system is
Graham, can I just, it's just Matt Lawson, I'll just chuck in my 5 cents worth, if that's all right.
Sure.
Just with a lot of the questions that people are asking, they're really great questions. They actually are really good questions about finances and all these other questions. Remember, once you get the numbers of the people onto this and you move through into a new system, you got to flick your mindset because right now we're trying to change things within a system that's broken. So our judicial courts, our politicians, everything we try to change now has to go through processes that are working within a broken system, a corrupt system. Once we get the numbers behind this to say, let's move into a system that's outside of what we're already doing now, a lot of these things will fall into place. Once you put the terms of reference out there, these questions that everyone are asking, you can pretty much say, if I have that question, there's probably going to be 10,000 other people that are thinking the same thing. Put that into a question thing that goes through the QMS system, run a referendum to say, do we do X, Y, Z? And it'll come out to say the people want this, and then you run with it. So a lot of the things, the real thing at the start is to get the numbers, and then the second thing is to get your initial terms of reference. And I really think people are questioning in the background, how do we get those numbers? The 5 by 5 by 5 is hard. Once we get some instructional videos and some explainers out there, which Karen and you guys are working on, this will happen quite quickly. I know that from my own social media experience. Once you start getting things out there and simplifying it and having really great conversations, this will explode and get out there for sure.
We do have quite a large reach already too through the influencers such as Matt and Graham and Wayne. I've got my own, and you know, everyone sort of out there has built their platforms and their influence or their groups. And then on top of that, we're having the Australia project come in, who had 30,000 people sign up in a day. We're getting, you know, people like Jamie McIntyre promoting us. He's got, what did he say? I think he said 3 million viewers or something like that. It's huge. So we can get it out there through those media. Obviously, mainstream's not going to let us promote it on mainstream channels yet, right? But when we get a couple of million people talking about it, it'll be all over mainstream media. They'll be trying to shoot us down and they'll be saying we're all sorts of things, right? That's where you guys are up front, you know, in the first instance, what we're offering and what we're doing. So before mainstream even gets to it. So we're at that stage, I'd expect or I'd hope that you guys will sort of explain a little bit more about what we've told you and how it really is an altruistic venture. There's no, you know, there's nothing to be gained in this from any of us apart from our freedom. And that is where we're coming from. We want to free our children, we want to free ourselves. And we don't want this tyrannical, drug pushing, thieving government that we currently have. We want something that's of the people, for the people and by the people. And we don't need government, we need governance, as Graham says, or I say management. And all we need to do is be able to manage our country or govern our country. It's not even about, you know, controlling people. It's not even about control. This is about taking it away from it, from the corporations and what loosely calls himself a government, and giving it to the people. So have we got another question?
Michelle, have we got one more question? Because we've got 5 minutes left before we close down.
I'm trying to find one, but the chat got seriously blocked up. So
I've got one from earlier on then, and that question was, when did the two-party system start? So that obviously all of the corruption that we're seeing.
Oh, I can answer that one. I can send you the book. I've put the I'll put the email back in the chat. 1908, they created a two-party preferred system because the then Parliament, there was too many candidates and it was too messy for them. So that should have gone to a referendum, which it didn't. So I know that's a long time ago, and it may have worked okay for a period of time. But when we go back and look at the lawfulness of the government system in this country, we only really had 8 years of 8 years of lawful government until the politicians decided that they would jump in and do their own thing. So it's all in Dick Yardley's book. Dick spent 40 years researching this book, and the reason we're doing it through the website is because we have to monitor how many copies are going out and where they're going to. So yeah, just bear with us. You'll get your copy if you ask for one, but it's only going to be by email at this stage until we can get a better distribution system. So yeah, that's basically the answer to that question.
Thank you. I'd like to just quickly answer one I saw pop up on the chat messenger there, saying that a particular influencer that I mentioned earlier was a crook. Look, if people have direct evidence of something, sure, bring it to us. But honestly, unless people, if you're hearing say-so stuff, I'm sorry, but I've seen every influencer in this movement dragged down in one way or another. And I can tell you now, of all the people I've met, they are amazing, beautiful people who are fighting a warrior's cause for their country. And I love every one of them for what they're doing. So I don't care what people think about other influencers and people in the movement. I will align with the people who I believe and I think are doing the best thing for our country moving forward. If I think that they're trying to pull the country down, I'd certainly be talking to Graham, because they're doing something treasonous like that. He's a public figure and he'd have to do something about it. Anyway, we've got a couple of people with hands up since we've run out of questions. So just, I know it's going to pull the meeting a little bit over time, so everyone's happy to.
Graham, can we just, there's someone in the chat called Shauna. Can you unmute Shauna? Shauna?
Yeah, Shauna?
Denise and Shauna, is it?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, what's your question, love? Sorry.
I didn't
Okay, away you go. You got the floor.
I didn't have a question. I was basically saying that people are answering all the questions through the chat, but there are people on the board who've had their yellow hands up for the whole meeting.
Yeah,
yeah, I think. Yeah.
What we've been trying to do is manage some of the truthing questions so that because I mean we don't really have answers on that. We have our own beliefs and that sort of thing. But that's
can I answer that, Graham? Can I answer that one?
Yeah, sure.
The hands are still up because those people haven't got back to me with their questions when I've asked them what their questions actually were. That's why those hands have been up all meeting.
Okay.
I have.
Yeah, or what we might quickly do, if everyone's okay with it, is we'll since the hands are up, we'll quickly run through those and then we'll finish the meeting because we're already going a little bit over, so I don't want to run it.
Okay. Graham, can we do that on the proviso that we answer the questions as quickly?
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we've got Nina from New South Wales.
Yes.
Can you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you guys for everything you're doing. I think it's fabulous. And just to let you know, I actually had a quick Zoom with some friends this morning to tell them about you, and I joined a couple of days ago. So my question is actually to answer questions for people who are asking me. Is this running parallel to the government we've already got? Like
We haven't got the numbers yet to do that, but once we reach certain tipping point in numbers, yes, we could essentially set up as a parallel system to that and do it constitutionally. So
yeah, hang on. No, that's no. Sorry, mate. I don't mean to chop you off, but once we get the majority of people under the Constitution, the majority of electors in this country, we can actually remove the corporation, and that's our aim. And if you talk to Wayne, Wayne will explain how to do it. But we haven't gone down that track, because basically we have to get the numbers. So people are saying, oh, you can't get the numbers, you won't be able to do this. And what about the other 20 million? Well, 70% of the population is about 9 million. We've only got how many grown? 25 million?
It's currently 18 million registered voters is the latest number we've been able to find. It's around that 17 point something.
Right.
And the population is currently 27 million.
Right. You see, the way democracy works is when the majority of the people vote for something, that's the way it goes. So I cannot imagine anyone in this country that would want to stay with what we've already got. I just can't. I mean, there will be people who don't want to perhaps get involved or think, but I can tell you now that on the feedback that we're getting, 9 out of 10 people have had enough. So if that translates into the numbers that we need. And remember that people don't know that there can be an alternative. So when you give the alternative and people have got somewhere to go, I'm going to use Kevin Costner's movie. If you build it, they will come. And that's why I'm on board. That's why that's why Wayne's on board, and a lot of other people have come on board for that reason, because we're actually being able to build something as an alternative to what we've got, because we've never had anything before, and that's what we want to do.
Thank you.
So I wasn't disagreeing with you, Graham. I'm just
No,
wanted to. Yeah.
No, but there is two options. Yes, we could potentially build a standard-sized society as well, but we'd need quite good numbers in that. I'd say at least 1 million. Bex, you had a question.
Thank you.
So Bex, would you like to unmute?
Hi, sorry.
No, that's okay. Hi.
I guess my question was mainly based around you seem to have different visions, which obviously is a good thing, but it's not very clarified or unified for what you're presenting.
We're not, our visions are different in policy, not in the actual tool and what we're building.
Yeah, it personally, it's not coming across very clear as a first person on, like, first time on watching this. And then it is a little bit confusing. But anyway, my actual question was, is the system involved with like the quantum system grammar parse?
No. Look, we've got people from those groups working with us, but and we are making sure that the language that we use, we're trying to correct, because I originally wrote the document, was unaware of a lot of the language issues then. And I mean, Graham's educating me and other people, Andy's educating me, other people are educating me along the way as to not to use words like citizen and legal anymore, things like that. Tanya, you put your hand up there. Would you like to unmute and come in and ask your question?
Yes, thank you very much. My thoughts are that things are moving very fast with current things, with, you know, pushing and pushing and pushing for testing and more positives, so more jabs and so on and so on. My concern is that they are rushing this through now because they're panicking, because they're realizing that people are waking up. My question is, what is the New World Order and their digital currency and their social credit system through the managed and controlled through the vaccination is instituted before your system, our system, is up and running? How will we unwind the world governance, and what would we do, secede from it? Or, you know, it's going to be a one world, like a communist or fascistic government.
Find when they try to take the land off Australians or anyone in the world, they're going to get a lot of backlash, and I don't think they're going to have. We've got a lot of farmers in this country, and believe it or not, most of them try and take their land from them. It's not going to end well. So I don't think the NWA is going to get into the country in the long term. And we've got this alternate system now. The idea is we've just got to build the numbers, get people on as quickly as we can. And that's when we step out of this paradigm and create the new. And that's what we're heading towards and working towards. So this essentially is a 4D system to bring 3D people into it, or raise them into a 4D situation, because they're going to be educated once they come in. If they're part of it, they will receive the education. They'll see exactly what's going on. So thank you. Does that answer the question for you?
Sort of, yes, thank you. My concern is there are just so many people out there that are just going and getting this vaccine, and it's not a vaccine, and what it's doing to them. They've just been absolutely shepherded into it.
If most people have the vaccine and everything's true and they do pass away, that lowers the amount of numbers that we need, and that will get the QMS up and going a lot quicker, especially when people see people dropping dead around them and cease trusting the government altogether and see them kill their friends and family.
Can I just butt in, Graham, for a sec?
Sure, mate.
So I got hi Tanya, I hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
I've got quite big social media platforms and a really big reach across Instagram, Facebook, all the different platforms, and a worldwide reach as well. And what I'm finding right now is it was just about the awake people, or whatever you want to call the people that are aware of what the government's doing. That's all I had on my pages for about 18 months. In the last week, to 2 weeks, I have so many people coming across that have had their first or second jab, have had adverse reactions, and have other people around them reaching out. There is a groundswell of people coming across that even after having their jab are now awakening to what the system is doing, and they're aware of a government that they can't trust. And I hadn't seen this at any stage. So it's given me a great hope that moving forwards, you know, we have to be ready with our arms wide open. There's going to be a lot of people that suddenly lose their trust and their faith in a government that is doing the wrong thing by them. And yeah, I think part of the problem with the government and what they're doing is they're pushing so hard. They're so backed up against the wall right now that they're running an agenda that I think is maybe going to fall flat on its face. And we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be bewildered because they were trusting it and thinking they were going to get their new normal, or they were going to come out of this with a brand new world that was clear of COVID and whatever else. They're suddenly realizing we're getting controlled. There's QR systems that aren't going to go away. There's a lot of people that are coming across right now. So we just need to enact what we're trying to do, put it out there in a really smart way. It's not about overhauling the system and throwing people out of the building. It's just about a brand new system that is going to do much better for these people. So if that gives you any hope, there's a lot of people just in the last 2 weeks that are coming over, and I think it's going to continue to grow and grow. There's a groundswell that's going to happen, I think.
Like a snowball effect.
Yep.
Thank you. That's very encouraging, Matt. And I used to watch you on YouTube when Melbourne went into lockdown in the beginning, and then I kind of lost you. I don't know where you are now.
I'm still floating around in the Ethernet somewhere, but we'll just keep on fighting in the background, and, you know,
thank you.
Just,
It's very
have
encouraging.
hope and faith. Yep.
We've got 7 people with their hands up. I'm going to ask nobody else to put their hands up so we can get through these last 7, and then we'll end the meeting there. So we've got Jen next. If you'd like to unmute Jen and ask your question.
Yeah, hi. My question was that it was mentioned that the QMS, but I think you've kind of answered it already, that the QMS system is lawful and under the Constitution we can walk in and take over the old Parliament House. But I was trying to find out where in the Constitution does it give us that right?
We don't necessarily need to do that at this stage, and we're not.
Hello.
We're not too concerned.
Graham.
So sorry.
Hello, Graham.
Can you mute?
It's on page. Sorry. It's on page 362. I'll just grab it.
What section?
Hold on.
I don't have the big extended version. I've just got a.
No, that's okay. Maybe could you email us and I'll get Graham to send you that out. So
awesome.
All right. Sorry. Next we've got Philly Andre. Yeah, you'll have to unmute, Philly.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can now, yes. Hi.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions. Should we be withdrawing money from the bank?
I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to tell people what to do there. Yeah, I don't know. I probably something I'd rather not answer, because I mean at the end of the day.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, but yeah. Did you? Okay. What was the other question?
Thank you. The other question is, how will the schools be run?
Okay, again, that'll come down to the will of the people. I'd like to see an education system that teaches our children how to look after themselves, how to live in society, and how to think independently, freely, and do their own research. So that's what I'd like to see. But it will, again, I'm hoping that most Australians would like to see that. So that'll come down to what Australia wants when the system's operational. Okay.
Perfect. And also one more question. Will it be under the QMS system, will it be a cashless society?
No, I at this stage, again, another issue of policy, but I like having cash in the society myself, and I would certainly not lend weight to a cashless society. However, your currency is currently digital anyway, even though we have bank tokens, which we call notes and coins. Money's a fiction, so I'm not worried about that at the moment. I think we need the will of the people. We've got to save the people first. We can change the systems along the way once we get to the new system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we've got Nick Doslov, I think. Sorry, I hope I got that right.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much, Graham, and thank you to Graham, Jess, yourself, and Matt, and everyone else that's putting all the hard work in this QMS platform. I just have a question in general about how will QMS handle supporting fine art small businesses like myself and many others, which have been decimated by this ScoMo government. As far as that's concerned, I've been self-employed as a bookbinder, fine art bookbinder and letterpress printer for nearly 40 years. It all had come down to the end in 2017 due to a number of reasons, and one was just lack of support right across the board by the government and by some members of the parliament too, which I visited during that struggling time, especially in the last 5-6 years. I also looked after my father during that time, which did put a big toll on that. So I'm just interested in the fine art, how will the traditional apprenticeship systems, because we've lost it, we don't have any more apprenticeship systems in this country, and how will we bring back those industries and get that going for the young people for the future generation?
I would expect when the Western democracy system collapses that we currently have, that a lot of new industries will be created at that stage. And I mean, I don't know the answers directly at the moment, mate. I'd love to be able to say this is how we deal with it and this is what we do. But again, it's going to be one of those things that comes down to the will of the people. But I can tell you now, I'm a small business owner. There's a lot of small business owners out there. We will have a voice in the system finally, and we will be able to present policy that benefits small business much better. And look, we'd much rather have a lot of small businesses than things like Big Pharma and that sort of thing. I think that will become a focus for the people at that stage. But again, it comes down to that's a policy type thing and something that's really beyond my purview. We're just really building the tool to be able to give us the ability to get there.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem, mate. Thank you. Next we've got...
Hello, Graham.
We've got Kerry.
Hello.
Sorry, who was that?
Hello, Graham.
Hi, who's that one? Sorry.
It's Lynn Bennett, sorry, from Velvet Revolution, United We Stand.
All right, yeah. Hi, how are you, Lynn?
Sorry, I'm going well, thank you. On page 326 of the Constitution, it actually states, and I quote, "Among those influences, some are internal, to be found in the character, organisation and historical attendance of the sovereign person or body. But the most powerful are the external surroundings and circumstances which guide and direct the mode of calling into action the sovereign will, such as the right of petition for redress or grievances, the right of public criticism, the right of the public to combine and demonstrate against oppression and wrongdoing, and above all the knowledge, oppressed by sovereign rulers, that if they persist for any protracted period in attempting to govern contrary to reason and justice and contrary to the wishes, interests and instincts of the bulk of their people, they will lose popular support, encounter popular resistance and run the risk of rebellion and revolution, as actually happened in England during the reign of James II, end quote."
Okay, so that's directly from the Constitution.
That's directly from the Constitution.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask what section that is? Does it have a section number or identification?
Yes, page 326.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to get Kerry's the next one. Kerry Verdon with the next question. Hi, Kerry, how are you?
Good, Graham. Thank you. Just a quick question. How's the best way to approach people or tell them about this? Any hints as to how to really get this?
Don't try and wake people up. Don't go to them and say...
No. Just tell them about this.
Yeah, no, just ask them. The best approach is to say, do you trust the government? And once you get the no, would you consider an alternate system? That's what we're finding the best approach is, because that is where nobody trusts the government and most people do want a better system. So I think that's the approach to try to take. Whatever way you get to the discussion of we don't trust the government, that's fine. I mean, I've used fracking, I've used all sorts of things in the past. I do steer clear of the things that they call conspiracies, because loses me traction with it, and I discovered that last year. So these days I no longer talk about what I know with regard to that. I talk about the other things that are in the mainstream media that I know that show that they're corrupt bastards, that these people just think, oh, well, they're the government, they get away with that, what can we do? We've got a two-party system anyway. Or we don't. We've got a two-party system, we've got the QMS now, so we can change this. So we've got Lena Still is the next person in. You'd like to unmute yourself, Lena? Oh, sorry, Lynn, hi, how are you?
Hello, are you talking to me, Lynn Bennett?
No, Lena Still.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. There you go. I'm just trying to ask you, you've muted, Lynn.
Okay.
That's better.
Am I right now? Okay. I've just got two quick questions. We've been saying all night how we need 8.5 million people. Do we know how many people we've got right now?
Look, currently on membership, we've got about, I think it's just under 1,100.
Right.
Which it doesn't sound like a lot, I know, but I have currently 13,000 followers. Graham's got something like 300,000. We're trying to merge everything in together, and then we've got all these other groups that are bringing their people. I actually think we've probably got over 1 million people that are following us and watching what we're doing. We do have a massive subscription list now. That's up around 7,000-8,000 people in there. So it's a matter of getting the word out. A lot of people are watching us, but they're not ready to commit as a member yet. So people are going on and subscribing to get our emails, but not necessarily becoming a member. People are scared that we are not who we say we are. People think that we will misuse their details, or that the government may be able to get rid of them or get hold of them. Sorry. I will delete the database before the government can get it. Right? I'll burn my computers if I have to. I don't care. Right? Nobody gets it off me. And Karen and Graham, who have access to it, they can't get it through them either, because they've only got a web portal access to it. It actually resides with me.
Okay, that's fine. And my other question is just a quick one to Matt. Matt, well, how do I find you on social media?
You still there, Matt? I can facilitate a link for you. So have you got my details then, or?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
We put on the website. On the website, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But just send an email through info@theqms.org and just mention that you're looking for Matt and that we spoke, and I'll just to remind me, and I'll link you up somehow.
Okay, thank you.
It's on Instagram as Matthew Lawson Photography 2.0, something like that.
Thanks.
So Matthew Lawson
Photography 2.0, something like that.
All right, we've got two questions left. So we've got Alan next, please.
Hello, folks. How you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very well. I was just thinking, you ever thought of like business cards and flyers and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Symbol you've got behind your head there? It's a wonderful sort of thing. Just in a conversation, I could imagine talking to people about those questions you were talking about and giving them a card, something like that, or just a flyer type thing.
We do have some business cards, but they didn't come out the best. I got them printed early on in the piece. So yes, we will have some more soon. You can imagine though the logistical costs. We're self-funding this, so the problem we'd have is being able to purchase bulk amounts and give them out to all the people that might want to distribute them.
Well, yeah, if you can like have a file together that people can print themselves, maybe.
Yeah, well, we will put some stuff out like that. I know Penny, who's I think she's still in the meeting, put some brochures up on the website that could be sent out. So yeah, it's there, and we will get some more out, and that is a great idea. I think we'll get some stuff out on the website itself so that people can actually get it off there. And if they want to print them out and do letterbox drops in their area or hand cards out and that sort of thing, if we put some of that up, that's
yeah, count me in. Yeah, thanks very much for that. Okay,
no,
carry
thanks,
on.
Alan, appreciate it. You were next, but I see you taking your hand down. Did you still want to ask a question, mate, or? Sorry, Tom Grant, you had your hand up before. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I was just wanting to know, I'm not tech savvy, but all this stuff seems very expensive to set up this system. I was just wondering, is it expensive, and who, if it's already been set up, who's invested behind it?
All right, so I've put about 1,500 of my own money into building the website and getting it this far with marketing and bits and pieces. I know Graham's put thousands in.
Is my suggestion valid? It's a good suggestion.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute you there for a minute. Yeah, so far, no. Look, all we've got is a website at this stage and a concept. When it comes to building the tool, if we have the referendum and the people decide this is the way we want to go, which is when we have the referendum and the people decide this is the way we've got to go, I've got to start speaking more in the positive, I apologise. When that happens, we'll have the money of the Treasury to pay for it. So we can actually, if there is a cost for the app, which I've been told there will not be, but when it comes to that point, the Treasury will pay for it. The people of Australia will pay for it through our own financial system, and the money the government's already taken from us. So even if it costs $5 million to build, that's a drop in the bucket to what's sitting in the Treasury. It's not going to affect anything. And worst case, if we can't get the people's will right up to the level we need, and we create a splinter society, in that case, we might turn back to the members and say, everyone put in a few dollars or whatever it costs when you break it down by the full membership. But we really want to steer clear of asking people for money. You guys are doing it hard enough as it is, so are we. And we want to keep this not about money. We want to make this about a solution. So this is a real solution. It will work with the people, but it doesn't work unless the people are on board. Money-wise, well, people can contribute in different ways. If they want to, if they pay for their own printing and distribute stuff that we've put out, if they share it amongst their friends and family, that all helps us. We can't reimburse anyone for anything they spend. Remember, we're all just, I mean, you know, Graham's retired. Karen, she's got a dad she cares for. I'm self-employed, so we're not rich people. We're not, you know, we have not a lot behind us either. And people have suggested we monetize this. We put a lot of time and energy into this, but at the end of the day, we're not, as I say, it's not the money. We also, the software engineers that have been working with us too, they're volunteers. So again, it could be expensive, but with the software already there, it's just a matter of assembling it and making sure it's what we need and that there's no back doors that anybody else can use. So
that's what I was going to say as well. I don't know much about blockchain. Like, how secure is it? Is it unhackable or?
Well, nothing in the world is completely unhackable, but we can sit this on a blockchain which is encrypted and protects everybody's details, and it's also distributed. So the way the blockchain works is that it distributes itself across a vast network area, and that's what makes it infallible and the security of it safe. The way that it's encrypted keeps it safe as well, and I don't know all the full technical specs on that. There's also the idea of hosting the system in a quantum environment. That is currently unhackable, but I mean, as with anything over time, it could become. The idea is to set the system up in such a way, and once it's working, why would you want to hack it? I mean, it's yet another country might want to or something like that, but we've got things in place to try to prevent that sort of thing from occurring anyway.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You'll see the whole world's going to change soon anyway, and with systems like this running countries, the people involved, man, like they've got no option but to. They're going to be educated. They're going to be awake. They're going to see what's going on in real time, in real life, and they're going to see it from the real experts, not people.
Graham, can I just chuck something in there?
Yeah, sure.
To the caller, you know that the system we've got at the moment, we fill ballot papers in with pencils.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think do you know why we do that?
So they can run them out. Yeah.
I'll let you work that out yourself. But the thing is, we're working with people like Michael Proper from Clear United, who's got a platform for encrypted smart devices. You know, there's a lot of people around the planet that are interested in what we're doing with the QMS to make it more secure, because, you know, there are systems in the blockchain that are not secure because there's a thing called a backdoor key, and that's something that we're very well aware of. And you know, they say that digital security is not worth, you know, it's a myth. It's not a myth. It's who controls it. And if we have it controlled by the people with unique fingerprint type ID, straight away, if someone tries to hack the system, we'll know who it is.
And we can policy around it too.
There's a lot of things that we're looking at the moment. But again, without the people, it's not going to work. It's the same as a new political party. Without the people, they can't get a majority to rule. And the system's broken. We need a new system. So QMS is the system to go by, because those of us who have been studying the Constitution for many, many years believe that our Constitution would have evolved this sort of technology anyway if it was let run its lawful course. So the Treasury has spent a lot of money on elections. I mean, you get 3.5% of the vote, you get $1 for every vote. The QMS system will cost a minuscule amount of what it costs us to run one election.
Yeah, imagine even if it costs us $10 million to put the QMS in place, once it's built, you don't need to do it again, and you're not paying.
Yeah.
We've had estimates of $2.1 billion a week to keep the Westminster government running here.
Yeah. That's
just a big drain of money on the Australian public and a ridiculous reason for us all to be paying, especially when we know what we get for it. Denise and I've got two last questions I'm taking, and then we will have to close the meeting because it is getting a lot of overtime, and the Colonel there's going to get tired pretty soon. So, Denise and Shauna in WA, would you like to unmute?
Hi there. I'm doing some watching this together.
Sorry, we're having trouble hearing you properly.
How do I do that? Can you hear me now?
That's better, yes.
I have to leave. I'm Denise, and Shauna's my sister, and we're in Western Australia. This is like my first time, and I'm just going to throw a suggestion to the group. I hear that this is very urgent that this gets sorted and up and running ASAP. I'm hearing that there's not a lot of all the rules and what we actually want to put out there is sorted.
Sorry, Shauna. Sorry, Denise. We're having a lot of trouble hearing you. It's fading in and out, and it's very difficult to hear.
Right. I'll email.
Maybe bring the microphone closer to you. That might work. Possibly, I'm not sure. It'll be a technical issue at your end.
Email a suggestion.
Okay. Email us at info@theqms.org, and if you send it through to there, we can answer it through there. All right. Yeah, I see you jumping there, Tony. You're gonna have to wait, mate. Yeah, Chris, you're next, mate. If you'd like to unmute yourself. Is that Tony? Yeah, it is.
G'day, everyone. Chris here. Fantastic to see so many people on the call tonight. Couple of things I just wanted to point out. If you do go, if it's resounding, if it's resonating with you about what's being said, make sure you do join up. There's a forum, and you'll find there's some amazing discussions going on in the background about what are some of the initial policy things that we want to put into the QMS system. So that's a great forum. It's there. It's uncensored forum. You can say what you want, and there's some really. It's not just a throw latest information, but there's some really intelligent discussions going on. So I encourage everyone who tonight has made comments or is having ideas, that's the place where we can start to capture what are some of the policies that we want to put through the QMS first up. So I just wanted to add that to the discussions.
Appreciate it, Chris, brother. Thank you, mate. And as always, love your work, man. Okay, so last question, and this is the last question. Anton, would you like to unmute yourself, mate? You'll need to hit your mute, mate. You're muted.
I've been meaning to come on for ages. Finally, I'm here.
Hey, mate, how are you?
I was just putting an excerpt from a website called treasontoday.com, and I'm only presuming at the moment that those comments regarding trolling are directed towards me, but I stand corrected if otherwise. Basically, what I'm trying to point towards is possibly, I could be wrong, just my analogy of it or my comprehension, that perhaps that constitution that was drawn that is indissoluble may have been a 70-year contract. When you look at the timeline, the linear timeline, it coincides with the 1973 Unidroit, I guess, amendment.
That's probably a discussion you better having with Graham or Wayne separately, mate, because I don't know much about that.
Just quickly, we've entertained all of those ideas. What was the caller's name?
It's Tony.
Tony. Oh, it's Tony. Okay, Tony. We've entertained all those ideas, and it really is irrelevant because what was done in '73 was because they still had to go to the people, even if the Constitution was a 70 agreement, because even under the commercial or maritime law, a contract that is expiring, unless it's renegotiated, continues at the same terms and conditions. But that's irrelevant. What we still need the people, and all that information and research that you do is fantastic, and we like that fact that people are giving us this information. But the thing is that we have to think about how do we get out, not how it happened. We got enough evidence to bury these bastards 100 times over. So we don't need any more evidence. We need the education, but we now need to get the people basically to agree that this system doesn't work. The Constitution was usurped, replaced, whatever you want to call it, and we need something new, and we need something today. And I think that's the key message. And got a lot of things coming through the system. For those who are still on the call, this is the QMS is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of things coming through the system that we'll be releasing as we go. But remember, we haven't been able to do this the time that we go through at the moment because we've been censored, we've been ghosted, we've been gaslighted, you name it, everything you can think of. My internet just happens to go out just before I do a Zoom. Coincidence? I think not. So there's a lot of censorship on us, and that's why we need people out there talking about the QMS and coming directly to us through emails and through the website instead of relying on social media. These Q&As will probably continue on, but the thing is that you must start talking to your circle of friends. Not try and convince anyone, just talk to them and say, have a look at this. That's all we're asking people to do.
We're aware of the problems. What we're offering is a solution, and we're asking everyone to stop focusing on the problems for the time being and help us build the solution, because this will solve the problems in the long run. But that's what we do. We get the people involved. We work out what the problems are. Once the system's in place, there's no point trying to fix a problem if you don't have a way to fix it. And that's what we're trying to build here. So if you want a way to fix the issues that we have, all of the issues that we have, and I mean right across the board, this is how we do it. We get in there, we build this system, we get the people on board, we have our referendums, we decide what constitution we want to reside under, and then we start changing all the policies and processes in the system, right? Now, things like the vaccine, that sort of thing, they're going to come up pretty early on, all right? So there's a lot that people will want to address pretty quickly. And what I'm saying is the will of the people will drive it. So the more important a situation is, the more that people are triggered by it, the quicker it will get resolved, because you'll be able to get the 1,000, you'll be able to get the 10,000, you'll be able to get the experts through the process of test and measure, and you'll have all the answers and make a decision from there. So, yeah, look, I would love to sit here and say, look, we can save the world, we can fix it, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. But what we are doing is building a tool. We're getting a concept out there. We've got the way to do it. We just need the people on board to do it. And whatever we want to recreate, and I'm not talking me and the people I'm working with, I'm talking so, sorry, I'll just mute you there, Anton. Mute.
Rolling me a tea bag.
So yeah, as long as we've got the will of the people, we can change this country into whatever we, the people, want it to be. And we can do it as an educated society moving forward, because nothing's going to happen without the transparency of the testing. So anyway, love to thank you very much for having you here. I'd love to see you all on the site as members, if you're not already. I'd love to see you bringing your friends and engaging on the site. That's important too. By getting on the site and putting forth these ideas and concepts for the new processes and policies having those discussions. Not everyone's going to agree on there. In fact, everyone on this has probably got different ideas at different levels across the field, right? And I can guarantee you there's going to be no two people on here that will agree on 100% of issues that are potentially out there, right? We're all going to see it slightly differently, and that's fine, right? As long as we are testing and measuring and putting forth the concepts and the ideas, these things will be discussed and eventually the best solutions will be found. Plus now, the good ideas aren't just given by those people calling themselves our leaders. And I mean, what leaders to what? What have they led us to? All right, so think about that. Anyway, we're going to wind the meeting up. Again, thank you.
Hello, Graham. Can I just say one thing, please?
Very quickly, please.
It's Lynn Bennett. Yep. So those people that are worried about the systems that are already in place, those things won't be changing directly as soon as people take over, because we can't afford to have systems falling down. So they've already got a system. We will let them just continue on those systems until we can hold referendums.
Yeah, things get changed with the will of the people. So nothing's going to collapse. You're not going to see people out riding in the street. Anarchy doesn't mean that anyway. Anarchy just is a form of self-governing. We've got the tool to basically give the people a way to govern the country. So without having to have corrupt and corruptible people running the country. The biggest problem in politics is people have a perception of power and money. Take those three out and you've got the QMS, a policy deciding machine. Right, so,
Lynn, are you still there?
Yes, I am, yeah.
What section were you quoting from? Because you're quoting from the annotated version, yeah?
Correct, yes. That's the only one that's got
it?
her in page 326.
No, not page, not the page number. What section? Go back and see if there's an S something on it somewhere. It's a section.
No, it's actually the annotated.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, it's the annotated. It's the constitute what they're actually talking about throughout the whole book, and that's what they were saying. It's all part of the Constitution. If you look at your gazetted,
yeah, I've got the Constitution, but I don't use the annotated version. So when you say it's on page 345, is that part of the preamble of the annotated version?
326. It's in the constitutional commentaries section.
Okay, thanks. It's not a section of the Constitution. It's in the forward. Yeah, that's all right. I wondered because I've never read that, and I've read the Constitution back to front. But that's okay. That's a good. It's a good one to actually introduce. And next time you can you copy that for me?
I can. I can. Is this you, Matt?
No, it's Graham.
Matt. Oh, Graham. Yes, Graham. I can send that to you.
Because
yes, we need to read the whole. We need to read the whole Constitution because it's commentaries on it, and it's all been gazetted. So we need to read those laws as well. But just in the Constitution on its own, I have found 3 or 4 different laws that are quoting our rights, our freedoms, and our right to remove the corrupt corporate government under the Governor-General, in which we then ask him to issue a writ to hold another election, and that's basically it. So once that happens,
all good if your Governor-General's not corrupt.
We haven't had a lawful Governor-General since 1960.
Correct. We already know that. But the point of the matter is, if the people are still in front of him and saying you either need to do this or the people are going to do it for you, that's the whole point.
Yeah, and that's what we need, the numbers.
Exactly. We need the numbers first before we can
Yes, we do.
Anywhere. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to finish the meeting here. I do appreciate everyone coming in. Thank you for the questions and thank you, everyone. Look, I apologise. It seemed a bit weird with us not letting the chat thing and everything. I get that, but that was more about, and not about so much controlling the questions. We don't need all the truth and policy questions. We're really questions about the QMS. The policies, as I've said, they will be from the people at the time. So the QMS is what we're selling at the moment. That's what we're promoting, and that's what we need to get the concept out there in front of every single Australian. when we were talking to the Australia Project guys this week, they said if they could put me up for 10 minutes in front of 25 million people, the country would fall to us straight away. If anyone can work out a way to get me on the mass media, I'm happy to go there. So anyway, thanks.
Next meeting, Graham?
Yeah, I think we are going to run another meeting next Saturday at the same time. For those that are interested in joining or bringing friends along to find out what the QMS is about. We are trying to keep it about what the QMS is and get the word out there at the moment, because the most important thing that we can say at the moment is getting the numbers. So we are playing a big numbers game at the moment to get people involved and to get them on. We're not any tricks. We're upfront about what we're asking for. We have merged with several other groups that are bringing their members to us as well. We can't just merge databases, unfortunately, so we are sending emails out to people asking them to come and sign into the QMS and fill out the paperwork as we go. So if anybody has anything that they'd like to ask, send it to info@theqms.org. We are struggling to get through all the emails because there's a limited number of us working on it all. Karen does a fantastic job of trying to stay on top of that, but she and Michelle, myself, we're all human. We all have our lives to live as well. We've got to earn money and that sort of thing. But we're doing our best to bring this forth as quickly as possible. But we've pretty much done what we can. Now what we're about is marketing and getting the word out and getting the numbers up. The people will take this over as it goes. So we need each and every one of you out there selling this concept as best you can, wherever you can, to whomever you can. And honestly, there's nothing unlawful about this. There's nothing unconstitutional. It can't get you in trouble having a political opinion. And as I say, it's a peaceful way to do it. We're not trying to overthrow anything or anyone. We don't want anyone hurt, killed, injured. All right. And I mean, what they're doing at the protests now, they're targeting us. So this is the best way we can move forward, is not to go out and try to wake people up. Go out and wake them up to our system instead of what's really going on. We'll use the system to wake them up when they're in there, because we will. They will see it happening real time in there. They'll see the results. So I stopped waking people up earlier this year. I spent all last year trying to do it. It was fruitless. We got some people awake, but you waste so much time. Let's get out of the narrative. Let's change it. Let's create a new one. And with the QMS, we can really do that. And I mean, I wouldn't have people like Wayne Blue, Graham, Karen, Hakara, Matt, Jackie Dundee's with us, with Serene's. Everyone across the movement is looking at this and going, this is what we've got to do. Right? So this is what we've got to do. If you want to protect your country, if you want to save the people, and we'll roll it out to the rest of the world as soon as we get it working here. Any country that wants it, it's theirs. All right, so.
Can I say something else?
Yeah, very quickly, please, Ian, because we do need to, it's getting pretty late.
Yeah, sure. I was just hoping that everybody will support our truckies on Tuesday. That's this Tuesday, 31st of August, and they're going to be shutting down borders. And we need to accumulate at council offices and premier's offices and tell them that we are removing them from government.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We can't get into the politics and political stuff, obviously, for various reasons. So I'm not going to advocate or not advocate anything. All I can say is everyone does what they need to do at the moment and has to do in order to move whatever they believe is best forward. We want everybody on board here, and we need unity. In unity, we will conquer. We will come out of this, and we will survive, and we'll excel. We've just got to get out and like that corporate banner, get that full box. So that's what we're doing. All right, people. Thank you. Love you all, and appreciate you coming on. And really, honestly, thank you. It's you, the people, that will make this real. It's you, the people that are making this work. Okay, we're just doing the background work for you and putting it there. Once it's there, it's yours.
Thank you, Graham Turner.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oi.
And
thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks for your help.
God bless everybody.
Thank you. Thank you to Karen and Michelle for doing such a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
And I apologise for stealing the meeting off you a bit earlier, but I did want to get Jim in for a chat, although it went a little bit longer than I anticipated. I do apologise for that. All right, love you guys.
Everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Was trying to understand it.
Hey.